Secret Sound there, and JD Recovery are the sponsors of the Secret Sound, and you see their yokes everywhere.
You do.
It got to a point whereby I couldn't travel anywhere, but you would always pass one of their
That's
yokes.
comfort. If you knew if you broke down, you could flag them down.
Well, I don't think that's how it works. It's not a taxi gooch. But anyway.
You wouldn't give us a laugh there.
No, so then, I got to a stage where it felt like I am seeing everywhere I go see one of these yokes.
But be nice now. They'll be nice and friendly. They wouldn't see you stuck, put it that way.
Of course they wouldn't see you stuck. I've used them before a couple of times. No problem. They're fantastic. That's not my point, you see. You're so nervous of offending people. Stop it. I'm not saying anything bad.
Okay,
so then I was watching some show, Bangers and Cash, which is based in South East England or something.
I've seen it before, yeah.
Yeah, well, I can't remember which it was. Yeah, and what pulled up?
GD, get away! They're expanding their business.
No, they're all over the place. I was thinking,
not at all.
I'm seeing them when I'm not even in the car. They pulled up.
You'd be dreaming about them next.
Yeah, no.
You know what's going to happen? You're going to break down.
No, they do exciting things like move as well, like, you know, if you bought a boat or a caravan or something, it's not just breakdown.
Right.
They do positive stuff too.
That's right.
Yeah. But anyway, I just was hearing the jingles and notes. I just thought, right, I was in my house and there one pulls or drives past this place. I thought it was quite...
We're going to see them everywhere.
Really quite funny.
Do you know, it's like when you drive a purple car, right? What are you going to see?
Yeah, there's a thing. But there's a thing called confirmation bias, I think it is.
Right.
So say, for instance, you buy say you've got yourself a Volkswagen Passat and you love the look of it. I think you've just referenced this really, and you think, well, no one else has a Volkswagen Passat. But then all of a sudden, every second car is a Volkswagen Passat. Is it confirmation bias? I think
we'll run with you. That sounds plausible.
But that's anyway. That's a wholly positive story. I'm just saying they're a big company and you see
Good
them
on you.
everywhere. All right then.
Right.
Oh, you're going to get me
God,
to
that's
bother.
tough, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We got to do that one, all right, didn't we?
I think I did. Yeah.
I think I'll need recovery after this one. Good luck.
Life a flatbed will sort you out. Don't worry about it. All right, it is 9 o'clock. It's time for a news update. And it's over to Donna Marie Doherty. Good morning, Donna Marie.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A burst water main in the Riverside area of Buncrana has left many residents without water. It remains unclear when the supply will be restored, causing significant inconvenience to those affected. Locals have taken to social media to express their frustration with the recurring issue, which has become a common problem in the area. Cahirlock of the Inishowen Municipal District Councillor Jack Murray has criticised the situation, stating that it's hindering daily life.
Yeah, people, I suppose, across the nation are quite frustrated that water is going out so regularly in the peninsula. And look, it does have a huge impact on people's lives. People trying to get children ready for school in the morning. People's washing machines could get damaged when the water goes out unexpectedly, and obviously the sick and the elderly who rely on water. So we do need significant infrastructure in our water supply, our water infrastructure in Inishowen, because look, it's just not acceptable that these outages can occur so frequently.
Meanwhile, there's widespread controlled outages in the Glanties MD due to low reservoir levels. Due to the warm weather, the pumping station in the area has been turned off in a bid to protect the pipes. Councillor Michael McClafferty says it's his understanding that it's cheaper for Uisce Éireann to react to issues as they arise rather than to do an overhaul, which would see a better supply for the municipal district.
It's looking at €60 million. This will not be sorted in our lifetime, Donna Marie, as far as I can see the way it's going now, the way they're talking. And then they make reference for €60 million sorted at the minute. If the word the position sorted, they're saying they're not, but if the word and the position is sorted, and then they look at the comparison then of bus in for the last 10 years, they've spent in the region of €3 million in the last 10 years fixing bus.
Garda in Milford have responded to reports of dangerous driving in the area of Rathmullen last night. As a result, one driver was arrested and had their vehicle seized. The motorist in question had no tax, NCT or insurance, and a Garda spokesperson thanked a number of the members of the public who reported the incident, emphasising the importance of keeping the roads safe. And Garda are still hunting for the man who hijacked a car with a 5-month-old baby inside in Dublin. The baby's mother had just stepped out of the car when it was stolen on Mountjoy Square yesterday afternoon. The baby was found around 2 hours later in the car, which was parked on North Richmond Street. Looking now to weather, a mix of cloud and sunny spells today with just a few well-scattered showers, highest temperatures of 12 or 13 degrees in a light to moderate west to northwest breeze. That's all for now from Highland Radio News, back again at 10.
Ever considered what a farmer, a retailer and an ice cream van owner have in common? They all rely on this planet. Every business does. That's why AIB is here to help. Our Green Living Hub has the practical knowledge and support businesses need to become more sustainable. Search AIB Green Business to find out more. AIB, for the life you're after. Allied Irish Banks plc is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to Noon Show, with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, a good morning, and you're very welcome along to Tuesday's 9 till Noon Show here on your number one local radio station. It is Highland Radio. It's 4 minutes past 9, and it's Tuesday, the 24th of September. How are you all keeping out there? I mentioned to Lee just before 9, confirmation bias, which is, you know, when you see a car, that you get a car and then every car seems to be the car you have. It's actually cognitive bias, not confirmation bias. I'm going to be so silly. But anyway, that's what that is. If it was annoying out of you that you knew I was wrong but couldn't think of the correct answer. Anyway, 3 hours of keeping you informed and entertained with all the issues of the day from just right here in the Northwest, across the country and beyond. We have Community Garda information coming up at 10 o'clock, just after 10 o'clock. That and so much more besides. Get involved in the conversation, trigger your own chats. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number. 086 60 25,000. If you prefer, you can send a voice note to that number as well on WhatsApp. If you're outside the Republic, it's 003538660 25,000. If you want to give us a telephone call, 07491 25,000. Many of you still prefer to do that. And it's comments at highlandradio.com. And we still, I think, once or twice a week receive letters into the show, which are more than welcome. To the 9 till Noon Show, Highland Radio, Mountaintop Letterkenny, if that's your thing. And don't forget, if you're listening to the podcast or listening to the overnight replay, feel free to get involved in the conversation, text or WhatsApp, and we should be able to pick them up the following morning so that you can have your say, even if you are not listening live. Now, if you prefer to watch the show, if it suits you, maybe you can throw it up on your big TV if it's a smart TV, or you have that Fire Stick. Many of you have, of course. The YouTube app is on both. You can just load that up and type in Highland Radio Ireland, and you can watch the show and the majority of our guests in that platform as well. We are streaming live across the world on X and on Facebook. Now, the evening news, if you watch, and many of you do, is dominated seemingly on an international scale with what's happening in the Middle East. Israel is now pushing into Lebanon with their rockets and their missiles, and can imagine living in that area. 80,000 odd people received automated phone calls saying effectively that, if you want to stay safe, get out. And it's the same rhetoric or mantra or whatever you want to describe that we're hearing from Israel. They are doing what they want to do, as they did in Gaza, and they are accusing their opponents, in this case Hezbollah, of using residential properties to store munitions, and they're giving prior warning, they would argue, for people to leave. But that being said, you're asking people to leave their homes, people who have done nothing, civilians or what have you. And almost 500 civilians have been killed already in just a couple of days. Many more thousands have been injured. Many of those dead are women and children who have no hand, act or part in anything that's going on over there. And really, it seems the world stands by. Israel is empowered by the unwavering support of the United States and others. And as I say, Israel feel it's done its business and continues to do so in Gaza. And now it's decided to turn its attentions to Lebanon. And it claims it's under attack. But it claims its actions are justified if they believe they may well come under attack. And then once you say that there are arms and weapons in people's residential houses, what effectively you're doing is framing it to say, we can do whatever we want in this situation because we were going to be attacked and people are being used as human shields. So you can just start bombing indiscriminately and people just become numbers. Not to me, not to most people, but that is just how it appears. 4,000 odd injured, 50 children wiped from the face of the planet, never to have a future, 58 women confirmed dead, many more, but that's the confirmed number. It's the front of the Irish Times and many papers. Israel jets pounded Hezbollah targets in Lebanon yesterday, which it's an interesting framing because that's the first sentence of this story. And effectively what it does, and even the media in this country, and I'm not anti-Israel or anti-this or anti-that, by the way, I'm just saying as a fact, that it's stated as a fact on the first line of this paper that Israel actually pounded Hezbollah targets in Lebanon yesterday. Really, we have no proof of that. We're just taking the Israelis' word on that. We don't know what they were doing, really. We don't know where the bombs landed. We don't know what the targets were. But just in the first line of the front page of one of the most influential papers in the country, it is taken as a fact that Israel is pounding Hezbollah targets. Now, conversely, say, for instance, the Hamas health agencies instantly disregarded as being an unreliable source because it's good Israel, bad Hamas, good Israel, bad Hezbollah, if you know what I mean. And that's just the way that the media portrays it. I'm not saying that's not the case, but I don't like anything just being printed as a statement of fact. I think reporting should be more nuanced. But anyway, Israel jets pounded Hezbollah targets in Lebanon yesterday, killing at least 492 people and injuring more than 1,645. At least 58 women and 35 children were among the dead, according to Lebanon's health ministry. After almost a year of war against Hamas in Gaza, on its southern border, Israel is shifting its focus to the northern frontier, where Iran-backed Hezbollah has been firing rockets into Israel in support of Hamas. Now, Hezbollah are different to Hamas. Hezbollah are as well armed as many small countries. They're withholding those arms at the moment, as Israel is, because this is not a full-scale war, and there are certain weapon uses or infringements or whatever it might be that actually trigger what is then a war. So we're at a point where both sides are holding back somewhat because there is hope of some sort of a peace deal. But the Israel Defense Forces said fighter jets attacked more than 1,300 Hezbollah targets, including missiles, launchers, drones and buildings where it said the Iranian-backed group had concealed rockets. Now, some people from that area have been speaking out saying my relation's house was destroyed, granddad, granny, and the kids wiped off the face of the earth, and they're convinced there was no rockets, launchers or anything in those houses. Earlier, the IDF made 80,000 calls to residents of the Shia area in southern Lebanon, urging them to leave their homes in areas where it said Hezbollah stores weapons, which in and of itself too is an act of it sows panic in a population amongst those that actually aren't guilty of anything. So if you imagine someone sent a phone call to everybody in Donegal saying that such an organisation was storing weapons in houses in Donegal, everybody get out. Can you imagine if everyone in the county received those messages at the same time? The Irish Independent reports that how do you fix a problem like people holding on to learner permits perpetually for ages? We talked about this last week. They're booking tests. They're not sitting the tests, and then they just continue to renew their L plates. Well, the plan seems to be to do nothing. Plans for a crackdown on motorists who have held provisional licences for years and sometimes decades have been delayed. Why? Over fears of a knock-on effect on waiting lists for driving tests. So instead of getting... So we're actually deciding, it seems, as a nation, or whoever's responsible with the RSA, not to crack down on learner drivers because we'd be fearful that they might try and get a test. That's the problem here. A detailed briefing from the Department of Transport said any dramatic change on how many learner permits a person could hold was likely to lead to a surge of applications for driving tests, so people might actually try and be legal. We can't have that. Officials warned this would end up causing extra stress on the already overburdened testing system. And they're probably worried then if they did that, they've hired another 60 or 70 driving testers. They're not going to be online until March or something like that, but they're probably afraid of that benefit being wiped out because people are trying to become legal on the roads. Crazy stuff. The Irish Daily Mail, we got this report to us yesterday via email, and you know, as soon as you read of these special announcements as it relates to a child in danger, you know, it's very, very scary. So we get them into the news emails right around the country, and then of course they're printed or published for the wider population. A manhunt was ongoing last night for a hijacker who stole a car with an infant in the back seat in Dublin at lunchtime yesterday. The 5-month-old girl was missing for over 2 hours before Garda managed to recover her, but the man was still at large last night Garda had issued an urgent Child Rescue Ireland alert just before 4 p.m. yesterday, saying they'd serious concerns that there is an immediate and serious risk to the health and welfare of the girl. It followed an earlier public information alert at around 3 p.m. about a silver Nissan Qashqai hatchback. The baby girl was in the rear of the car when it was hijacked from Mountjoy Square West in Dublin at around 1:50 p.m. It's understood that the hijacker, who was described as white, middle-aged, did not know the child was in the rear of the vehicle and carried out what Garda described as an opportunistic crime. So obviously there must have been a point, was there, where the driver of the vehicle was outside of the vehicle, which was open with the child in the back. The CRI alert was cancelled and Garda announced that the girl had been found safe and well in Dublin city centre along with the vehicle. Speaking at a Garda briefing in the Phoenix Park yesterday evening, Superintendent Liam Geraghty said the suspect in this case is best described at this stage as a white middle-aged male wearing dark clothing and a baseball cap. There's a few questions to be answered in that story. But probably questions that aren't appropriate just right about now. The Irish Daily Star tells us that Taoiseach Simon Harris has confirmed that developers could be prevented from taking on future state contracts amid further delays to the National Children's Hospital. I read this because this one jumped out at me, not least because it's a big story, but a few people texted in yesterday and said, well, you know, how can you tender for a contract, win that contract, not perform as you should, and then win another contract? And that was a point that was made by a few for yesterday. So the public know what's going on, right, well in advance often of what the legislators do. They're saying, hold on a second, something doesn't make sense here. And now maybe the penny's dropping with those that have the power to make sure this doesn't happen again. Well, this move comes as the chair of the National Paediatric Hospital Development Board is expected to make strong criticisms of BAM to TDs and senators. In a letter to the Taoiseach last Friday, Health Minister Stephen Donnelly told Mr Harris and other coalition leaders that the beleaguered project would be delayed for the 14th time. It was expected that the hospital would be handed over to Children's Health Ireland in February 25 for a 6-month fit-out. In his letter seen by the Star, Mr Donnelly said that NPHDB believes that BAM's approach is based on extracting as much money from the Irish taxpayer as possible. Now, there's another report out today about the preparedness for Children's Health Ireland to actually function within that hospital and to run it. And that in and of itself is also incredibly worrying. And I fear there's going to be delay after delay after delay. The Daily Mirror reports that a former Sinn Féin press officer was placed on the sex offenders register yesterday after he pleaded guilty to 14 child sex charges. Michael Jared McMonagle, 42, who was found unconscious in his home in Limewood Street, Derry, last Thursday, has admitted committing the offences on various dates between May 2020 and August 21. The length of time he'll spend on the register will be determined when he's sentenced on November 8th for the offences he had originally denied. At his rearraignment before Judge Neil Rafferty at Derry Crown Court, McMonagle pleaded guilty to one charge of attempting to incite a girl under the age of 13 to engage in sexual activity. I will not go into the full details of that, but it was for sex effectively. And another of attempting to incite another child under the age of 16 to engage in a sex act. He also admitted 12 charges of attempting to sexually communicate with children for the purpose of obtaining sexual gratification. He had originally denied the charges. The judge warned him that he might expect a custodial sentence. We'll see how long that is, and I'll watch with interest. But there you go. That's that story. And finally, and this is completely trivial compared to some of the stuff we've been talking about, but RTE is looking for the new Bambi Thug, effectively. What I don't understand is, like, I mean, I understand RTE's charged with this, but as you would know, at the moment, there's an Irish Music Month competition that's ongoing, and we have a fantastic act that's going into the final 21, and we wish the lads the very best. Tessio, that is, of course. There's 21 final acts from all around the country at the moment, from all independent radio stations, and the top 6 of those will go to a live grand final, and then there's a winner announced. Wouldn't it be fair or better if maybe, you know, I'm not saying take it off RTE altogether, but why not use the winner of the independent radio competition one year and then RTE the next, the Independents 1 year, RTE the next, and that means that, you know, RTE are going to try another Bambi Thug buzz. It might be another Bambi Thug buzz that wins the independent radio competition, but why not use that entrant to go and represent Ireland? At least we might get a different style and see what works. But anyway, RTE is looking for an act to represent Ireland in Eurovision 25. After the success of this year's Bambi Thug, artists, performers and songwriters are being urged to contact the station if they feel they have the talent to succeed. RTE Eurovision's Michael Keeley said, Bambi Thug came 6th in Malmo, Ireland's best result since 2000. Bambi performed at Electric Picnic last month and is on a tour across Europe with sold-out shows in Dublin and Galway. So if you want to get in touch with them, you need to do it right now. The closing date for participants is November 18th. The 69th Eurovision Song Contest will take place in Basel, Switzerland in May. All right, so maybe that's your thing, or maybe it's not. All right, that was a run through some of the stories making the newspapers. We'll be back with our own stuff after we take this short break. Stay right where you are.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The big end of summer sale is on now at Foy's in Ballybuffet and Letterkenny. Get massive discounts on selected rugs, sofas, beds and dining room furniture. Also on cushions, mirrors, artworks, lighting, paint and so much more. Transform your home with stylish finds at unbeatable prices. But hurry, because these deals won't last. Foy's in Ballybuffet and Letterkenny, where your dream home begins. Sale ends soon. Visit foys.ie for details.
1984 saw the launch of the Macintosh, the first untethered spacewalk, Maradona's world record transfer fee, and a small car with a big personality met the world for the first time. The Seat Ibiza is 40 years young. To celebrate, Seat introduces the special edition Ibiza with a range of style and design features to make it even better. And not to be outdone, there's also a limited edition Arona to stir the senses. The limited edition Seat Ibiza and Arona. Discover our latest offers at DMG Motors, Donegal Town.
There's only one thing as good as a TUI holiday, and that's looking forward to one. So get next summer sorted and secure your TUI holiday today with thousands of free child places, even in the school summer holidays. And if you book before September 30th, you can avail of extra savings on your favourites like Holiday Villages, Splash World Resorts and our own TUI Blue hotels. Secure now with a low booking deposit of only €25 per person. That's next summer's holiday sorted. TUI, live happy. Offer T's and C's apply.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
It's 9:21 here on the 9 till noon show. We are joined on the programme now by Amanda. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Greg. Good morning.
Thanks for chatting to us. Right, you and your sister went for a walk at the weekend. Talk us through what happened.
So we met up and we decided we would go to Drumbo Woods with the children. So I had my 3 children with me and she has 2. So one of hers is a baby in a pram. So we went for the walk through the woods. And like did meet a lot of people walking, and people walking with dogs, no leads on their dogs. And now when we got back to the car, we just done the walk around by the river and back. And we got back to the car. So the pram, the wheels were covered with dog poo, my sister's shoes and 2 of the children's. We were just disgusted. And only we had bottles of water, a packet of wipes in the car, and we spent a good bit of time cleaning shoes before we could get into our car, and I just thought it wasn't a pleasant experience.
No, far from it. And it's also unsafe, especially with young kids.
Yeah.
I know myself, there was a distant family member who came into contact with dog poo and lost the vision in one of their eyes. It's no joke. It has serious consequences.
And children in the woods, they're picking up things, they're picking up leaves and sticks and everything like that, and you don't know what they're picking up.
Yeah, and it's about responsible dog ownership. I mean, do you have issues? What was the experience like with the dogs without leads on? I've had an awful lot of this in the last couple of weeks, Amanda, and it's people, their dogs running up to you, and particularly toddlers, and they think it's cute, and I don't.
The children also go up to the dogs. Yeah, no, we didn't have any issues with that. Now the dogs did come up to the children, and the children were over the dogs. But you cannot trust. You just can't trust the dog either. But it was just the mess on the shoes when we got back. And I've been talking to other people yesterday and who've had similar experiences, like in Drumbo Woods as well. And a lot of people would use the woods for walking. And, I drive through there a few mornings, in the week, and there's a lot of cars parked. So a lot of people use that, and it's not clean, like it's not safe.
And you said effectively you spent more time cleaning the dog poo off your shoes and prams than you actually did trying to enjoy the walk.
Yeah, than the actual walk. Yeah, it definitely would put me off going back there. So it would.
Yeah, I can imagine. So the message is pick up after your dogs. I mean, because you're not an anti-dog person, and that's coming across loud.
No.
This is about the mess that's not being picked up.
That's just the mess. Yeah, you don't mind dogs. Like, people are entitled to walk their dogs in the woods as well. Like, it's just clean up after them. There's children and other people using the woods as well, and just be mindful that there's children there and they're picking up things, and they're, it's just, it's there for everyone to use.
Pram covered, shoes covered, the kids' shoes covered.
Yeah.
My word.
Yeah, only we did have the water in the car and the wipes,
I'd have made you walk home, Amanda.
Yeah. I know.
And was it so bad that it would discourage you from using this, community facility again? I wonder, Amanda.
It definitely would now, because like the children, if they had just got into the car, like your car's covered as well.
Yeah, of course.
We noticed it on the wheels of the pram, and then we started checking shoes. And then cleaning them. Like, we spent a lot of time cleaning the shoes. And
look at, we don't have to get into the nitty gritty while people might be eating the cornflakes, but you can get off the stuff that's on the shoes, but there's tread and stuff on the pram, and unless you had a scrubbing brush with you, you're not going to get rid of all of it, and it's unfortunate. Isn't it?
That's it. Yeah.
All right,
that's it.
Okay. So it's a very, very simple request. And that is, if you're out walking your dog, enjoy your dog. Amanda doesn't mind you going out with your dog, but please pick up the poo after.
Just clean up the mess,
And I don't think any dog owner would want to be responsible for what you went through, or particularly, God forbid, if a child was damaged because of this stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
All right.
That's it.
All right, we'll see what other people say. Amanda, thank you.
All right,
Take
thanks,
care of
Greg.
yourself. Bye-bye.
Okay,
That's
bye.
Amanda there helping us highlight that issue. I presume it's not something exclusive to Drumbo Woods, but is that an experience that you've had or you can share? Let us know. 086 60 25,000 or give us a call on 07491 25,000. A caller says, I spent most of my life in London and I lived in a mainly Jewish area. Many of the people were born in Israel. They were the most polite people that you would ever meet. I wouldn't be the easiest person to get on with, and they never argue with you. They are such peaceful, polite people, and I really don't understand what's going on in Israel and what is going on in Israel. And I mean, we'll never forget too, of course, the awful atrocity that was delivered on the Israeli people on October 7th last year, and the fact that some of those people that were literally dragged from a festival or from a house or from a village are still captive in Gaza and should be released as well. And one couldn't condemn enough the actions of Hamas on October 7th. But all that being said, there also has to be a proportionate response. And what Israel has been doing of late and is beginning to do now in Lebanon, albeit that it's saying it's defending itself, and some people will say that's its right. But that's like, it feels a little bit like me walking down Letterkenny Main Street and someone looks at me and me going punching him in the face, and my argument is well, he was going to have a go at me. That seems to be what, on a much more bigger scale, what Israel are doing. They think someone's going to attack them, so they attack back. Now, of course, since they began their operations in Gaza, Hezbollah has been firing rockets and drones on the northern front. So they could argue that that's the reason why. But as I say, I think all responses should be somewhat proportionate, should they not? We were speaking to a guy yesterday, Chris, I believe his name was, and he was coming back on a train from, effectively, I think he was in Portrush, and he was travelling back to Derry. And he says that many cultures and many people of different backgrounds were represented on that train. But one gentleman, who might be well known, I'm not sure, is one of those people that preaches and carries boards with biblical verses on it. And he says that train staff declined him entry to the train. And effectively, our listener Chris says, was it Chris? Maybe it was John. But anyway, he said that, can you be a Christian open and publicly in this country any longer? This caller says, very interesting listening to this gentleman. It's true the most persecuted people in the world are Christian, and it has been happening for quite a long time in Ireland. Christians are almost afraid to stand up or speak out of fear of backlash. Christians are being killed in Africa and India. It's very rarely reported, they say. Another, in the age of tolerance, equality, diversity and inclusion, everyone is welcome, except, of course, Christians, it seems. And the preacher was getting on the train to preach. Everyone else was getting on minding their own business, not showing their religion, shoving their religion down everyone's throats. That's why he was denied access to the train. But, I mean, like, there are people could counter-argue that and say that if you have, if you're wearing items of clothing that, are very expressive of your religion, that some could argue. I'm not saying it's the case that is shoving your religion down other people's throats, or maybe it's just going about your life. I'm not sure if he was getting on the train to preach or not. But anyway, he didn't get on. Right, we'll be back with more very shortly.
Thank you for attending this meditation session for badgers who forgot to check for gas pipes before digging, without knowing how disruptive it could be, putting others at risk and doing it unknowingly for all their working life. And it could have been avoided had they just checked in the first place. Let's begin.
Always check for gas pipelines before you break ground. Visit gasnetworks.ie/dig for more information.
Everyone has the potential to save a life. My name is Sean Quinn, Sales Manager in Highland Radio. I now have the confidence to talk directly about suicide after completing Let's Talk About Suicide, a free online suicide prevention training programme from the HSE. Visit hse.ie/Let's Talk to take part.
Looking for a technology partner to help you reach your business goals? With cybersecurity solutions from Vodafone, your business can hack off the hackers. And with our collaboration tools like Microsoft 365, your business can bring the team together, wherever they are. Keeping your business secure and productive. Make technology work for you with solutions and support from Vodafone. Search Your Business Can today.
If you need advice on what's best for coughs or colds, or what's best for sore throats or flu, just ask at your local Brennan's Pharmacy. If you need advice on the best vitamins and tonics to put a pep in your step, just ask at your local Brennan's Pharmacy. Whether it's about backaches, headaches or tummy aches, your Brennan's Pharmacy team can help. If you need advice from someone you trust, we're here for you at your local Brennan's Pharmacy, Buncrana, Clonmany and Creeslow.
Join John Breslin and the Highland Radio Outside Broadcast team from 12 until 2:30 p.m. on Thursday, September 26th for the grand opening of Efficient Renewables' new showroom starting at 11 a.m. Discover solar panels, heat pumps, SEAI grants and carbon neutral solutions. Meet experts from EcoForest, ProAir and the Credit Union with the ribbon cutting at 1:15 p.m. That's at Efficient Renewables Main Street, Newton Cunningham this Thursday.
Now, new figures show that femicide, which is the killing of women and girls, are on the rise in Ireland. The research team examined the 97 gender-based killings of women or girls referred for formal forensic post-mortem examinations from 2012 to 23, and 96 died at the hands of a male perpetrator. A new study has found cases increased from 19% referred to the Office of the State Pathologist between 2012 and 2020 to 29% from 2021 to 2023. Just over half, 56% of women were killed by a current or former intimate partner. 20% were killed by family members, with women killed by their son in 13% of cases. 4 femicides occurred in each of the counties of Donegal, Kerry, Kilkenny, Mayo and Meath over the 12-year period. Dr. Marie Hainsworth is the manager of the Donegal Domestic Violence Centre and is with me now in the show. Thanks for joining us, Marie. I do appreciate you taking your time.
No, morning, and thanks for having me on. No.
Yes, and I think, this research really confirms perhaps what people like you and those involved in domestic violence services perhaps already could see happening.
Yeah, it is a sad reflection, I suppose, but it is a reality. And I think we've been pushing for this for quite a long time, that there needs to be specific domestic homicide reviews, like they have in the UK, for example, where after every incident like this happens, there is a kind of a deep investigation to discover. It's not about apportioning blame, but it's about trying to understand what were the factors that led up to this, and are there commonalities that were missing, that might highlight and be used in risk assessment for domestic cases. Because I think, on that report you were looking at, only 50% of them had a prior history of physical violence, so that's not a main indicator in terms of what domestic abuse cases can lead to to a homicide. So we need to look at other factors. And we do know, for example, that in nearly 98% of domestic homicides, coercive control is a definite factor. So that's something we've learned from this piece, not from this particular piece of work, but from work in this area over the time. So we need to look at more things like that. We need to come up with more patterns, and we need to have more information about what is actually happening here.
I mean, you could, on the face of it, seem that we're being quite proactive in terms of, Garda training in dealing with these types of cases, the introduction of legislation as it relates to coercive control, and legislation covering other acts of violence which are more often perpetrated against women. Yet we are still seeing increases. So I wonder what's missing there.
I think it's the risk assessment element of it. It's the prevention piece, and it's all right talking about awareness raising. That's a very kind of low level strategy. We need to be, this is where I keep going back to because it's not just adult victims. I mean, within that period of time, there was also 20 children that were murdered through domestic related, they either witnessed the assault and were also attacked, and those figures are not being published. So it's not just adult victims that are affected here. And state agencies are working constantly with families in crisis and in this kind of a potential situation. So our handling on it needs to get better at that level. There's a lot of families out there living at a high level of risk. And I don't think, it is an inevitability that it's going to keep happening. We currently have, it's just under, I think it's one homicide every 6 weeks in this country where a woman is killed. And that pattern hasn't really shifted too much. The reason the femicide rates have gone up is because all the other areas of homicide have actually come down. So it's the overall percentage now of femicides is becoming more and more a majority. So, something is not working here that we need to look at.
And we can draw comparisons with countries, with a similar setup to us, if I could put it like that. And the research also looked at the level of violence against women, extreme acts of violence during the pandemic, prolonged lockdowns and what have you. And some countries saw no increases, others did. And Ireland was amongst some of those countries that did record a rise in extreme domestic violence or extreme acts of violence against women. So that's something definitely we need to look at and gives us an opportunity to say, well, what are we doing that other countries aren't, or vice versa?
Yeah, and the other thing that happened as well is that straight after the pandemic, we did see a big rise in femicides in that particular year. 2022 was significantly higher than any of the previous years or even last year. So, something definitely was a trigger point there that meant that possibly one of the things that is working for women is that they are able to get out and about and get the support of a community. And maybe that's a mitigating factor that actually when lockdown came down, those supports were missing then. And that clearly had a big impact, particularly in this country.
And I think it's worth emphasising as well, because it is an important statistic, or it feels important to me, is that of all the femicides we talk of, 6% of the cases, just 6% of the cases, the perpetrator was not known to the victim. Is that telling in any way, shape or form? Does that leave us maybe, and it sounds a strange way to put it, but in a better position to try and tackle this? Because we can see from where these awful crimes are coming from. So we should be able to be more proactive in tackling it.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it also means that the vast majority of them occurred in a place where not many people are going to have access.
Yeah.
So, the reason why a lot of, attacks in the street can be preempted, is there are other people around that can jump in. But obviously, in a domestic setup, there often is just the perpetrator and the victim, and sometimes children, and that's it. There's nobody else. Nobody's likely to just walk in on the scenario and be of assistance. So it does leave it, you're totally dependent on the victim being able to reach and access help, or neighbours being able to call. But if you're living in a rural location, as a neighbour, you're not going to hear something necessarily. So that's another risk factor, unfortunately.
So you talk of awareness being I can't remember exact phrase you used, but a low level action or what have you. I'm not questioning whether that's the case or not, but just I'll frame it like this. We've spoken many times over the years, Marie, about how often there are patterns of behaviour, right? So instances may begin to happen in a house, or someone can become violent and it escalates. And often then, it's not always the case, but there are often points where if there were intervention, we'd never get as far as the femicide or the murder or the very serious assault. So what can we be doing more? Obviously, I think in terms of getting awareness, maybe people might approach services like yours earlier in a pattern of violence, but there must be points of intervention that we're missing out on, or maybe there isn't, but it feels like there must be to me.
Yeah, and I'm not saying awareness raising isn't, when I meant low level, I meant in terms of where you've got families that are at a kind of a turning point, or almost at that brink of, the situation escalating. That the low level awareness raising is for a different target group, if you like, and it is definitely really important. I think one of the interventions, and we are actually coming into doing that in Donegal now, is to have a perpetrator program. So moves that actually work in the rest of the country but have not yet been present in Donegal are actually now going to set up, in conjunction with probation and a number of other services, to look at perpetrators actually going onto a program that will work with them. This is for men who want to look at and explore ways in which maybe violence is not the most appropriate way for them to manage situations in a domestic relationship. So, at least when you've got interventions like that where we are directly talking to the perpetrator, really, the person responsible, we need to be having more conversations about violence and about how it's not a tool that should be used and what are the consequences. And I think that's a bit more hardcore than your generic awareness raising, which is mainly around, positive relationships and, equality within relationships and all of that, which is definitely also needed. But we also need to have specific conversations about violence and why it's used as a tool and why perpetrators feel it's an okay tool to use, because they clearly do. And we need to not shy away from that conversation. So that's one piece. And then the other piece is there does need to be better risk assessment, where we know there are vulnerable families, where we know violence is being used repeatedly, that we begin to put in place interventions that acknowledge that. And that includes not exposing children to that level of violence. I think it doesn't really seem to be taken that seriously when it comes to a child protection level. It seems it's the adult victim needs to get out, but we keep the children in it, whether it's through access, whether it's through continual contact. We don't put the same level of, I think, awareness around the risks that children face.
How important is it that it becomes available, that, people can check if prospective partners, be they male or female, have a violent past? I think there is those types of options in Northern Ireland, and people wish to see them extended to the Republic.
Yeah, and I think that is definitely something that's useful. But you're looking at the fact that, particularly for very young people, entering maybe their first relationship, there probably isn't a prior history, And we do know that a lot of femicides, particularly involving stabbings, for example, occurs in the younger generation, it's under 35s. There might not be that history. But we also, certainly when you're moving up in age and somebody has got experience and they've got prior convictions as well, they would need to have convictions for domestic abuse. And that's, it takes a long time for cases sometimes to get into courts, and, what is going to be recorded, what isn't. It's a complicated, I don't know that we have the infrastructure to do that quite yet, but it's definitely something people should be able to make, those kind of assessments. But also, there are plenty of people around who know what other people are saying about the relationships and prior relationships, and it's very easy to say, oh, but that was then, and he's a changed person now, it's not the same. We've had we do tend
to almost brush over things and look for the best in people, even in the most severe circumstances. I don't know if that talks to a sort of a societal attitude, or if that even needs to change.
And I think it comes back to that conversation about understanding violence, because we do tend to make excuses. It's because somebody has poor mental health or because they have an addiction. We never say, oh, this person uses violence as a choice. And that, unfortunately, is the conversation we need to have, because if somebody's using violence as a choice, that will continue from relationship to relationship until it's challenged. And that's the kind of red flag that you need to be looking at, as well as the controlling behaviour. I mean, coercive control is always present in a domestic homicide. So that is definitely an indicator that people can look for. Is there a sense of fear? Do people feel afraid in the relationship? Do they have to be back at a certain time, or do they feel like they're walking on eggshells? And what happens if they don't do something? If people are saying that they feel afraid or know that they have to do something, then that is definitely a red flag and a concern in a relationship.
And so often people, by choice or because they haven't realised yet, confuse coercive control with passion, love, things like that. But eventually the penny does drop. You just hope it's not before it is too late. I know the likes of Donegal Domestic Violence Services and the other services that we have, Lifeline and others across Donegal, do everything they can. Everyone is listened to and assisted as much as is possible. Would increased funding of services like yours, Marie, help if we're trying to sort of maybe get people out of situations before they escalate, or you talk about protecting children from some of these environments? I'm just wondering if more investment in domestic violence services might also help.
A little bit, and also I think investment into it's mainly the housing sector that is the problem, because if we had places where people could go, even to get out of a relationship for a while, to make plans, to think about things, to keep people safe, to have a bit of space to work out what needs to happen next. Because that's a key thing for a lot of families. In order to escape domestic abuse, usually their finances are tied up with the perpetrator, their housing is tied up with them. They can't actually move on in their lives until they've got a bit of space to be able to make decisions. And the housing crisis, unfortunately, is causing a lot of people to stay in situations that's not ideal and could potentially be quite dangerous. So definitely that needs to be the investment. I'm not saying that we need to take on those houses, but we do need to work closely with, say, local authorities, and housing department generally needs to invest a lot more into this area. I know they're putting in place some refuge spaces, but we need all sorts of accommodation options.
Okay, Dr. Marie Hainsworth, thank you very much for your time. I really do appreciate it. That's Dr. Marie Hainsworth, the manager of the Donegal Domestic Violence Centre. If you have a view on that, let us know. 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000.
Highland Radio are planning a musical event just for you. Join us as we spend 3 nights in the luxurious Sleeve Russell Hotel, Cavan, from Monday the 3rd to Thursday the 6th of February 2025. You will enjoy luxury transfers, dinner, bed and breakfast, and nightly entertainment with some of the very best names in country music, including Michael English, Robert Mazzell, David James, Olivia Douglas, myself, Sinead Black, and many more. Join us on Highland Radio's Cavan Country Getaway for just $4.89 per person sharing. Single supplement applies. Early booking advised by visiting the outlet on highlandradio.com or call us at 074 91 25,000 today.
If you're naturally curious and want to solve problems, or you want to have an impact on issues you really care about, if you want to make a difference through better public policy, or you've a grá for Gaeilge and want to keep it in the conversation, if you want to use your skills to benefit society, there's a public job for that. Whatever your interest, whatever your skills, explore hundreds of different careers at publicjobs.ie.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring biggest ever sale. Up to 50% off everything in store. All tiles, all wood flooring, all outdoor slabs, cladding and bathware. Everything slashed in price. This sale is not to be missed. The Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring biggest ever half-price sale is now on.
Your friends said you were mad. Your family said it was risky. Your heart said, I can do this. But now a little voice inside is saying, what's next? Visa's She's Next grant programme is empowering women to take the next step with their small business, with a chance to win one of 5 grants worth up to €50,000 and professional coaching. You say, I'm ready. We say, you've got this. Apply now at visa.ie/she's next. Open to women-owned businesses operating in the Republic of Ireland. T's and C's apply.
There's Monster Bingo tonight and every Tuesday night at Mulroy Woods Hotel, Milford. €3,250 must go. Doors open at 7:30. Bingo starts at 8:30. That's Monster Bingo tonight at Mulroy Woods Hotel, Milford.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenny's. Support a local Donegal business with McElhenny's. From fashion to home essentials, find everything you need for any occasion. Shop McElhenny's Ballybuffet for quality you can trust.
Okay, I'll dig out that weather forecast for you in a moment. Let me see, what has it got here? I should have had that open, but I didn't. My mistake, I beg your pardon. A mix of cloud and sunny spells today with just a few well-scattered showers. Temperatures 12 or 13 degrees and a light to moderate west to northwest breeze. Now, Councillor Albert Doherty is with me on the programme now. Good morning, Albert. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning, listeners.
Right, we're back talking about respite services at River Walk House in Carndonagh. The HSE had committed that services would be reinstated in March of this year. Then they said it would be September this year. And yet here we are. We are in the mouth of October effectively, and yet these services are not in place as they should be. What's going on?
Yeah, I received assurances to my question in the May meeting that, an earlier meeting that the May area was a selected date for the return and the restoration of respite services at Riverwalk. That was then delayed until September with the proviso that if staff were obtained in the meantime, it would be reinstated, recommenced earlier. And on Friday of last week, I've now received confirmation that it could be the last quarter of 2024 and that the HR and the disability services are working towards the recommencing. And that's just not satisfactory, and it's very distressing and upsetting for families who were awaiting the restoration and the recommencement of services here at Riverwalk.
What does ongoing staffing issues mean? Does that mean they're trying to recruit but can't? Does that mean that the staff that they have are too busy elsewhere? What does ongoing staffing issues mean?
Well, what they've confirmed on Friday last is that outstanding there are 2 nursing posts to be recruited, and in addition to that, 2 healthcare assistant posts have to be recruited. Now, what concerns me as well is that the HSE recruitment process, they say that all necessary approvals to recruit are being followed up. And I believe the approvals issue should be long time resolved in relation to the restoration and the recommencement of the services. And today, my colleague, Councillor McMonigal, will be raising this issue at today's meeting of the Regional Health Forum in relation to Riverwalk, but also in relation to other areas throughout the county of Donegal, and it's been raised by the Children's Disability Network team. Often for Inishowen people, they are offered Ballymacool Respite House services. I'm advised that Ballymacool stretched to the limit. And indeed, one family from the North Inishowen area in Clonmany was offered 1-day respite in Mount Charles. And that was a day's organising travel to Mount Charles, 66 miles away, 130-something return. And that isn't the service that is merited to be available to people here in Inishowen and in the rest of Donegal, and something needs to happen.
But if they couldn't staff these services in March and they couldn't staff these services in September, there's absolutely nothing that would give us trust that this can happen in the last quarter of this year. This feels a little bit like sitting in a car with a child and they're saying, "Are we there yet?"
Yeah, and it's very pointedly noticed that in their response to me on Friday, the HR recruitment point out that a position was filled in the June-July period, a nursing post position, and for some reason that person withdrew her application or his application and now no longer want it. So there is an issue. HR and the Disability Services said they have tried in partnership with each other to actively progress a number of recruitment initiatives. As you point out, these seemingly are not working. This needs to be looked at. And I just noticed there where the Northwest Regional Assembly mentioned recently that in relation to government and department services in the Northwest, there needs to be a policy of positive discrimination in the Northwest and in Donegal to deliver regional equality. And our health service is not delivering regional equality, I believe, for our people.
I mean, obviously then, there's arguments for similar measures for those working in Dublin because the increased of living there. That's complicated. As obvious a solution it might seem, it is quite complicated. That being said, I do believe that the methods would change to try and fill vacancies in CDMP roles. So there might be a precedent there. But I think, this talks to a wider issue here as to, I think, why does it seem such an unattractive job? Why is it so hard to recruit? Is it particular to this area? Is it particular to this area of this area? Are these situations happening elsewhere? Are there any other measures that have been taken in any other areas that have proved successful in recruiting? Because I think the HSE also has to take blame for being unable to recruit. I don't think them not able to recruit is the actual excuse for not having these services. We need to shine a light on the HSE and say, well, what is the problem? Why would someone accept the position, go through a procedure? What is it you called it? The acceptance, or not the acceptance, but you used a phrase there, the pre-employment clearance. Go through that and then not take the job. Why not? Was that person asked why they didn't? Is that public information?
Oh yes, pointedly, the response reads that there was one post for a nursing post accepted, subsequently withdrew acceptance of the post. So there is an issue to be addressed from within. And from within, I want to see the approval process hastened so that applications required and jobs required can be filled. But if we have to look at the training and perhaps the attractiveness to travel to other areas, having trained our nurses, we need to look at that. And also, if it has to be with conditions and salary, whatever, I believe that merits consideration by the powers that be as well.
Well, something has to be done for this listener. I haven't had respite for my daughter in 6.5 years. In the past, we had no house and no staff. Now we have the house and no staff. It's ridiculous, and they feel no one is listening. No respite for 6.5 years. Now, what are the implications on the principal caregiver there in terms of their emotional, mental and physical well-being? These are people we should be supporting in doing the work of the state, often in caring for people. Very high level, very intense care. And we're not even providing them the basic luxury, if I could call it that, and I say that with my tongue in my cheek, of a day's local respite. It's crazy. It's completely unacceptable. To me, it's unacceptable.
And how do I feel myself? I have been that person's messenger to HSE, to HR, and seemingly to no positive avail so far. And from her family members and others that I've talked to, they feel abandoned in relation to having some respite time for themselves or for their families.
They have been abandoned. Indeed. Right, well, we'll see what response is given to your colleague a little later.
As I say, it'll be raised today, and I've asked the Deputy McLaughlin as well to ensure that Mr. Donnelly and Mr. Burke are made aware of the issues here in the Northwest.
Well, March, it slipped. September, it slipped. Last quarter this year, possible. I mean, it's there's no end in sight, really, if the truth be told, because we can't have any confidence in the latest deadline because the previous two have slipped. But I appreciate you helping us raise the issue. That's Councillor Albert Doherty there. If that's a story that affects you, please get in touch with us, because the more I hear the more I can track down the minister with responsibility and articulate and help getting these stories to that person. Back with more after the news and obituary notices. In fact, we return with Community Garda information.
Do you currently have vacancies that need urgently filled? Have you tried various ways to find new staff but didn't succeed? Let Highland Radio help you source and fill your current vacancies in the most cost-effective way. Simply sign up to our job spot and we will tell our listeners about your vacancies both on air and online. Every Monday, Wednesday and Friday during our primetime shows, we will broadcast the latest job opportunities across the Northwest and into counties Derry and Tyrone. All job listings will be available online at highlandradio.com. For more information, contact the advertising team on 07491 253 22 or email advertising@highlandradio.com. Highland Radio, we are here for you.
Chasing that final ray of sunlight to the end of the garden, squeezing every drop out of your tea bag, scraping the last bit of that really nice face cream. In Ireland, we love getting the most out of everything, so why aren't we doing the same with our money? By moving to an AIB savings account today, you'll get more from your money by earning interest. Visit aib.ie/savings to explore your options. AIB, for the life you're after. Terms and conditions apply. Allied Irish Banks plc is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Raymond Sweeney here to introduce you to heat pump tumble dryers. With these dryers you can save up to 50% on energy use, enjoy softer clothes, and thanks to advanced sensor drying technology, you will have wrinkle-free laundry every time. Upgrade your drying experience today with a heat pump tumble dryer, now available at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, or the shopping centre, Dunlow.
Don't even think about buying a bed until you've checked out Restex Beds. Famous for their quality, comfort and excellent service, a Restex bed will ensure a perfect sleep. Restex Beds, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Leave the rest to us.
Shekelatha ama Highland Radio. Arna Dortugad ag Airgrid. Uproar agus forbor an go letrahas na Héireann. Airgrid. Pobal a guachtu, era a guachtu. Teshe.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. Concerns about the future of Fawn Health Centre have been somewhat alleviated following a meeting between the local committee and the HSC yesterday. A spokesperson for the committee has announced on social media this morning that the health centre will remain open and will have a nurse available for the next number of weeks. They've thanked the community for their ongoing support. Widespread controlled water outages have been implemented in the Glendees Municipal District due to low reservoir levels. To protect pipes from damage during the warm weather, the pumping station in the area has been turned off. Councillor Michael McClafferty has expressed concern following a meeting with the utility. He says his understanding is that Uisce Éireann prefers to address water issues as they arise rather than invest in a comprehensive infrastructural overhaul.
It's looking at €60 million. This will not be sorted in our lifetime, Donna Marie. As far as I can see the way it's going now, the way they're talking. And then they make reference for €60 million sorted at the minute. If they were in a position to sort, they're saying they're not, but if they were in a position to sort it, and then they look at the comparison then of bus in for the last 10 years, they've spent in the region of €3 million in the last 10 years fixing bus.
Meanwhile, a burst water main in the riverside area of Buncrana has left many residents without water. It remains unclear when the supply will be restored. It's causing significant inconvenience to those affected. Locals have taken to social media to express their frustration with the recurring issue. It's become a common problem in the area. The Cathaoirleach of Inishowen Municipal District, Councillor Jack Murray, says the situation at the moment is hindering people's daily lives.
Yeah, people I suppose across Inishowen are quite frustrated that water is going out so regularly in the peninsula. And look, it does have a huge impact on people's lives. People trying to get children ready for school in the morning. People's washing machines could get damaged when the water goes out unexpectedly, and obviously the sick and the elderly who rely on water. So we do need significant infrastructure in our water supply, our water infrastructure in Inishowen, because look, it's just not acceptable that these outages can occur so frequently.
The business representative organisation IBEC has briefed local public representatives on the challenges facing the North West and the need to prioritise the region in next week's budget and beyond. A meeting this week stressed the need for a strategic investment in the region to sustain and enhance its economic prosperity. IBEC says businesses remain optimistic about the country and the region's economic outlook, but are warning against complacency. IBEC senior economist Hazel Ahern-Flynn says the need for infrastructure investment was stressed at the meeting to ensure that the pressures on businesses are eased.
Ireland's just come through quite a difficult few years in terms of the pandemic and then a war in Europe. And understandably, what we've seen on the back of that is very specific spending in recent budgets. That means that some longer-term strategic issues like adequately funding infrastructure and investing in the future have had to take a back seat. The reception from the TDs in attendance was quite understanding of that. I think it's a wide topic of discussion at the moment. But this budget is a very good opportunity and Ireland is very well placed financially to start looking at those longer-term strategic issues.
A new group established by the government to cut costly bureaucratic delays for people buying homes has held its first meeting. It aims to have an 8-week turnaround time in conveyancing and probate transactions. A number of departments and bodies, including the Banking and Payments Federation and the Court Service, are involved. Letterkenny Community Centre has issued a warning regarding a fraudulent advertisement circulating online that falsely claims to be organising Christmas drive-in movies at the venue. A spokesperson for the community centre clarified the event is not affiliated with them and will not be taking place at their location. The centre urges the public to be cautious of any such advertisements and to report any concerns directly to Letterkenny Community Centre. Garda and Milford have responded to reports of dangerous driving in Rathmullen last night. As a result, a driver was arrested and a vehicle seized. The motorist in question had no tax, NCT or insurance. A Garda spokesperson has thanked members of the public who reported the incident, emphasising the importance of keeping the roads safe. And the UN General Assembly takes place in New York this afternoon amid fears of an all-out war in the Middle East. US President Joe Biden, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky are among the world leaders attending the summit. The Irish delegation is led by President Michael D. Higgins and Taoiseach Simon Harris. On the conflict in the Middle East, the Taoiseach says the UN must do more to stop the humanitarian situation in Gaza from getting worse.
Children crying, children being starved, children facing the most horrific humanitarian situation, children losing limbs, children losing life, children losing parents. And really, this place was set up to stop this. And what we have seen now, in my view, is an inconsistent application of international law.
A mix of cloud and sunny spells today with just a few well-scattered showers. Top temperatures 12 or 13 degrees Celsius in a light to moderate west to northwest breeze. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11. Check all of the day's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
The Obituary notices this Tuesday morning, September 24th. The death has occurred of Fran Hurley ní Douglas, formerly of Castle Gore, Castlederg, reposing at Lynch's funeral home 50 Castlefin Road, Castlederg, today from 4 p.m, with removal at 6:45 to St Patrick's Church, Castlederg, to repose overnight. Requiem Mass tomorrow at 12 noon. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The Mass can be viewed via the parish webcam. The death has occurred of Brian Gillespie, 6 Donald Casey Court, Derry, and formerly of Oakfield, Gallia and Buncrana. Brian will be reposing at Bradley and McLaughlin's funeral home, 31 William Street, today from 2:30 until 4:30 and from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. Funeral leaving there tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. to St Eugene's Cathedral for Requiem Mass at 10 a.m. The death has occurred in Queens, New York, USA, of Bridie McMenamin, formerly Coraine Ballybuffet. Remains reposing at McCool's Chapel of Rest, Ballybuffet, today and tomorrow from 5 p.m, with Rosary at 9 o'clock. Funeral leaving there on Thursday morning at 10:20 for Requiem Mass in the Church of Our Lady of Perpetual Succour, Glenfin, at 11 a.m. Interment afterwards in Kiltyvogue Cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed live on mcnmedia.tv. The death has occurred of Yvonne Murphy ní McGettigan, Templetown, Carlingford, Louth, formerly of Kilconnell, Glebe, Kilmacrennan, Donegal, reposing at her home from 1 p.m. today. Removal tomorrow morning at 10:20 to St James's Church, Grange, arriving for funeral mass at 11 a.m. Burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. House private on the morning of the funeral, please. The death has taken place of Joe Hannigan, 608 Calais Carrigans, reposing at his late residence for wake today from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Family time on the morning of the funeral, please. Funeral cortege leaving his late residence tomorrow morning at 10:20, going to All Saints Church, Newton Cunningham for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Mass can be viewed on newtoncalaiparish.com. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu to Medical 3 Unit, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Kelly's funeral directors. The death has taken place of Robert Jenkins, Mondewey Manor, Cunningham. No wake, house is private, please, at the request of the deceased. A service of thanksgiving for Robert's life will be held in Referral Presbyterian Church tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu, if desired, to Surgical 2, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of Terence McClintock, funeral director. The death has taken place of Isabel Hammond, Maher Blade Creasla, formerly of Belfast. No wake, the house is private, please. Memorial service at the family home tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m, with burial afterwards in Doe Cemetery. Everybody's welcome. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu, if desired, to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or James Harkin, funeral director. The death has taken place of Hugh McCahill, Church Street, Ramelton, reposing at the residence of his brother Jim and Teresa McCahill, Church Street, Ramelton, today from 11 a.m. until 6:30. Removal from there at 6:30, going to St Mary's Church, Ramelton, for prayers at 7 o'clock and to repose overnight. Requiem Mass tomorrow morning at 11, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Samuel George Sammy Black, Clockgore Convoy, reposing at his home. Funeral from there this afternoon at 1:30 for 2 o'clock funeral service in Convoy Presbyterian Church, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu to Parkinson's Society and Convoy Presbyterian Church, care of Terence McClintock, funeral director. Family time, please, before the funeral. The death has occurred of James McGettigan, 9 College Grove, Strabane. Requiem Mass is ongoing in St Mary's Church, Melmount, which can be viewed live on the parish webcam. Interment afterwards in Melmount Old Cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu, if desired, to the Renal Unit, Omagh Hospital, care of any family member or Charles Lynch, funeral director. The death has taken place of Mary Margaret Turner, née McDowell, 14 Ashburn Avenue, Woodburn. Funeral leaving her late home this afternoon at 1 p.m, followed by a service of thanksgiving for her life in Glendermot Parish Church at 1:30. Burial afterwards in Altnagelvin Cemetery. Family flowers only. Donations in lieu, if desired, to Glendermot Parish Church, care of the Rectory Office, Churchbury, Altnagelvin, Londonderry. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Tá furisí níos tábhachtaí nó riamh. Banastíon cuilte a urisí go hinmhonathe chun cairú le doling le hathrú éráide chun aimid a chaláchar le tithe a thógáil, chun gnáthóga a chosint don dúra agus chun áitina áile a chur ar fás a chuos gur féidir le daoine taitneamh a bhaintastú. Sin an fá go bhfuil soláthar daimime dúchasach airnach á chóirge ag cuilte ag taú lenar dithe a thógáil agus ag chur jobanna áitiúla ar fáil. Agus, le haid gach chrán a bhanamid, chuirtar 3 cí nua ina áit, cuilte, le haid taicí níos gláise de chách.
Good morning again. You're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio. Coming up very shortly, we've got Community Garda information where you hear the very latest appeals and information from Garda Síochána first here on the 9 till noon show. A caller says, I wish to remain anonymous, but can tell you that I work within the services, and I can tell you, Greg, staff are being assaulted on a regular basis. After being assaulted, it's a lengthy process in trying to get paid properly. So that's in the... As it relates to the conversation just before 10, if you are working in those services and there's a story that you believe needs to get out, please feel free to contact us in confidence and we shall do that for you. Council should supply dog bins like every other country. Is that in relation to the dog poo in Drumbo Woods? I mean, we've had in the past dog bins and they got full and then people hung the bags of dog poo on the bins. We've also had situations in the past where people were putting their dog poo in bags and then chucking it over the wall into a graveyard. This is a problem where the poo's actually just on the ground, right? So no one's even trying to pick it up. They're just letting their dog run on the lead, poo, and not worry about it. And we heard from our listener a little earlier on that she and her sister and their children went walking through Drumbo Woods, and they came back and the pram was covered in dog poo, the boots and shoes were covered in dog poo, and only they had water in the car, they were able to wash it off. Greg, how does the letter from the health minister to the Taoiseach end up in the public domain? Have we got a leak in the cabinet, or was it deliberately leaked as part of a government strategy of some sort? I don't think it was an accident, right? Because this is a letter that's quite critical of BAM. And I think that if it is released, it kind of maybe takes the criticism away from the government and onto BAM potentially. So I can't say that it was released on purpose, but, you know, it doesn't. I think you're on the right track. Thanks, Greg, for giving the truth about Israel killing innocent people and our own government standing by for fear of reprisals from America, etc. I'm switching between topics here. I jumbled them up by mistake. This is back to dog mess. Regarding the dog poo, please add to take home with them. Here at Dunree Beach, they hang on the fence and throw into horses and lambs in the next field. So I didn't see this text in advance. That's exactly what I was talking about. So dog owners are being responsible enough to clean up the poo, but then they're hanging them on the fence rather than taking them in their own car or throwing them into horses and lambs in the next field. That's at Dunree Beach. So they're halfway there, folks. You've done really well. You were seen picking up the poo. Take it home. But having said that, maybe a bin might be useful. I used to blame the men for not cleaning up after their dogs. Okay, sorry. I used to blame the men for not cleaning up after their dogs, but have changed my mind. I was out walking yesterday and met a man with a big dog and he was scooping up afterwards. Then 3 minutes later, I met a lady with a small dog who was doing his business, but she ignored it and walked on. I didn't want to confront her, but what was her mindset? Like, how can you stand watching your dog poo in a place other people will walk and, I don't know. Bad dog poo an inch walk as well, apparently. So it's not obviously unique to Drumbo. That was just our listeners' unique experience. Just to follow up on the person chatting about dogs in walkways. I was in Town Park yesterday evening at 5 p.m. I did a few laps of the park. 2 ladies with a dog loose on each lap. The dog barked at most people it passed. An elderly lady was distressed as it ran up to her barking. The lady just apologised and walked on. They were not young girls, so can't blame young people for not being considerate of elderly. And I have so much respect for dog owners, and I love the fact that they've got this relationship with their dogs, but we don't have that relationship with your dog, you see. And that's the penny that doesn't seem to drop.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday, the 24th of September. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S12. It's game number 39. The numbers are 63, 52, 17, 29, 88, 18, 61, 9, 74, and finally 16. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Donegal Texel sheep breeders are holding a sale of 80 rams in Rafo Livestock Mart this Friday 27th of September at 7 p.m. Online bidding via the Mart Bids app. That's this Friday at Rafo Mart.
There's great reductions on children's clothing in the final clearance sale at Watson Menswear, Letterkenny. Kids' shirts and polos, $12.95 or 2 for €20. Selected casual shoes, €15. Kids' denims, 2 for €30. Final reductions on top labels like Farah, Diesel and Lyle & Scott. These savings are while stocks last at Watson Menswear, Main Street, Letterkenny. See watsonmenswear.com.
This Wednesday, Highland Radio is hitting the road to celebrate Love Donegal Day. Join the adventure as we explore the heart of Donegal, showcasing some of its stunning locations. Tune in all day for a journey you won't forget and follow us on social media. Love Donegal Day, proudly brought to you by Donegal County Council. Together, we can share what makes Donegal special throughout the world by using hashtag Love Donegal and hashtag Dunanalabu across social media.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91260025.
All right, Tuesday the 24th of September 2024, our latest edition of Community Garda Information, and in studio with me from Falcarra Garda Station is Garda Niall Maguire. Niall, thanks so much for calling up.
Thank you for having me, Greg.
A bit to get through, so we'll get straight into it. And an appeal in relation to a fatal road traffic collision now.
Yeah, your listeners will be aware of this one that occurred on Wednesday the 18th of September. An elderly gentleman who was a pedestrian was involved in this incident. He was struck by a van in Clonmany at 6:20 p.m. at Anna on the R238. Like I say, he was a pedestrian and unfortunately was fatally injured. He was in his 80s. So my colleagues in Moncrana would once again like to appeal for anyone that witnessed this accident or anyone that travelled on the R238 in Clonmany on the 18th of September in the evening time that had dashcam, maybe could they make it available to my colleagues in Moncrana, and they can be contacted on 074 932 0540. And indeed, any of the appeals today, Greg, the confidential line on 1-800-666-111, or indeed any Garda station or any Garda.
Yeah, they just want as much information as is possible. Investigations ongoing into a theft in Duchary.
Yes, this, I don't know, was this taken from a house under construction or an existing dwelling, but it was a Grant condensing oil burner, a very popular oil burner, was taken from a house in Rarrick-na-Shipple in Duchary between 3 p.m. on Friday the 13th of September and 9 a.m. on Monday the 16th of September. So again, my colleagues in Milford are investigating this one, and they can be contacted on 074 9153 060. That's a Grant condensing oil burner. So if anybody comes across one that maybe is for sale or has any information that can help us out recover that, please get in touch.
And we do have to be conscious of any potential trends as we're heading to winter. We do see a higher instance of the likes of oil burners and the very high value items now as well, and home heating oil. It is just a trend as we head towards the darker evenings, Niall. So just to ensure that we treat them as we would a valuable in the house.
Absolutely,
so,
Greg.
Whether it's indoors or outdoors.
Yeah, you're right. This time of year, and again, burglars, traditionally when the darker evenings come in, like we've been here many times, many winters before, and it's a trend that does happen. Now, in relation to further on down, there was a lot of break-ins in Letterkenny last week. There were 7, I think, in commercial premises in the town, and I suppose there is a fella in custody at the moment for that. Greg, he's in Letterkenny being interviewed, and hopefully will be going to court at some stage today. So that one was solved.
Right, okay. And of course, too, maybe now's the time to consider maybe getting an alarm that you can put on your oil tank or what have you that will alert you to your phone if it's drained very quickly. It's also good for identifying leaks and what have you. Criminal damage in Old Town in Letterkenny is next, Niall.
Yeah, we had, this is one of 3, Greg. I'm not suggesting they're connected, but there's 3 cars I'm appealing for information on today that were damaged, 3 separate incidents. We're no stranger to making these kinds of appeals here. It's like a car's an easy thing to damage, Greg. There's so many of them about, but the people are being caught for these, and they are being brought to court. And a lot of the time it's the members of the public and listeners to your own station, Greg, that give us nice tips, and lead us to bringing the offender to justice. So this first one happened at Rosssulia in Old Town, Letterkenny, between 7:30 p.m. on Sunday the 22nd of September and 1 p.m. on Monday the 23rd of September. A car was parked at that location and damage was caused to the rear passenger door between those times. It appears to have been sort of kicked in, Greg, and damaged, so that would be quite expensive to fix. So the Garda in Letterkenny would like to hear from anybody that maybe could help us with that one, and they can be reached on 074 91 67 100. The next one, Greg, is criminal damage to a vehicle on the early hours of Sunday, the 22nd of September, between midnight and 9 a.m. in Lifford. A car was parked at Bridgeview Apartments and the rear windscreen was smashed between those times. Again, Letterkenny can be contacted if you can help us with that one. And the third one was a sunroof was broken on a car in Port Salin on Friday the 20th of September between 8:15 p.m. and 8:45 p.m. A car was parked at the pier between those times, so when the owner returned, the sunroof was smashed in. Again, a very expensive repair for that individual. So anybody that can help with them, contact any Garda or any Garda station.
Yeah, and I can't believe next we're going back to another appeal as it relates to, religious ground, religious property.
Yeah, no,
it seems to be weekly. I don't know if this is in the same vein or not.
No, it's not, Greg. This is in relation to this is going back some time now, and I'm guessing the fact that it's gone back to July and we're making the appeal now means that this hasn't gone the way that we would have liked.
It's a renewal, effectively, potentially.
Yeah. There may have been other information in relation to this that hasn't worked out, but anyway, it was a grave, a newly installed grave surround at St Mary's graveyard in Remelton on Friday the 26th of July. The damage was reported some weeks later. So again, it was a surround. It was damaged. It's possibly accidental, Greg. It seems to be maybe a vehicle, because you can have vehicle access to that graveyard. Somebody may have reversed and maybe knocked into this or whatever. So we would like to think that it was accidental. I'm just appealing to people's good conscience if maybe they have any information in relation to this, or they maybe want to, because it's very stressful for the family involved, to have a grave damage like this. So Garda Rachel Carlin and Milford would love to hear from anybody that can help us with that graveyard, the graveyard in Remelton on Friday the 26th of July.
Yeah, between 10 and 11 p.m. And as you say, someone may have been doing a U-turn or something and never realised.
It is a very tight space there for turning, Greg.
If you come forward, I can actually understand why it would be distressful to the family, and your colleagues looking to bring that to a close. Okay. Right, you were referencing those arrests, just to recap that, because it's always a good opportunity when we can get updates on operations, and for operational reasons, often we can't. So we welcome Niall when we can.
Yeah, I suppose in relation to the people were horrified that there were 7 premises broken into, a lot of them on the main street in Letterkenny last week, and I suppose a lot of the times, like myself and my colleagues coming on here, and we're appealing for information in relation to burglaries and all sorts of crimes, but it's nice to just remind ourselves now and again about the ones that are solved, and a lot of them are solved, but we don't often say that, because they are before the courts, and there's we're limited things that we can say in relation to it, but there is a guy in custody there this morning in Letterkenny, and I'm hoping that he will be brought to court today and charged.
Right, okay. Now, there's been sporadic instances of dangerous driving around the county in recent weeks. Our focus is on one in Buncrana. What do we know, and how can people help now?
Well, this particular one in Buncrana is solved as well, Greg, and it's solved by the assistance of members of the public who rang in and basically gave us the information we needed. So people may be aware of this. This was a video doing the rounds, Greg. A couple of young fellas in Lexus cars that were on Lower Main Street, Buncrana, on Friday the 20th of September. They appeared to be going to some kind of Debs or whatever. And they caused a lot of nuisance and upset to the people in Buncrana on that day. They thought it was a bit of fun themselves, but obviously not. I say the video did do the rounds. 2 young men were arrested, and they're now been dealt with.
And a similar progress by their colleagues in Milford as well.
Yeah, this happened last night, September 23rd. There was a lot of again, young male drivers, and they were diffing and doing donuts and stuff on the road, Greg. And again, once again, this is the members of the public that rang in and gave us information. And there's a young chap arrested, and the car was seized. The car had no roadworthiness certificate, no tax or insurance. So that's, thank God, another dangerous driver off the road.
It's very frustrating, isn't it? Given the all too regular reminders we have of how dangerous the roads are, that we still see this kind of horseplay on the roads. Now, obviously, this is driving in a particular area, but who's to say that such behaviour wouldn't be replicated, on a straight stretches or elsewhere? It's frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, Greg, but they're getting very emboldened in relation to these kind of things. It used to be happening on a back road in the middle of the night, but now it's even happening during the day. I was speaking to a nurse in the hospital there recently, and she was saying that they can hear, it's very upsetting for patients even in the hospital at night time. They hear these cars diffing on the roundabout near the hospital, at 2 and 3 in the morning. People are out there and they're trying to get a bit of respite, so it's just a frustration and annoyance for other people, and it takes up a lot of our time, and it's ruining young people's future as well, because there's a possibility they could drive before the courts and get a conviction out of it.
No Australia, no America, none of that.
Yeah,
and as well as that, Garda can't be anywhere, and you just get a sense of part of it's a cat and mouse game as well, if you know what I mean. So
yeah, and a lot of these end up on the internet. They're making these social media videos, and they're not afraid to be trying to cover up their registration plates or their faces or whatever. And some people brag about it and stuff. And there's loads, and the courts, go down to the courts there today, and the courts full of these types of behaviour that are caught by the guards. So they've been caught on a daily basis. That leads us on, I suppose, to the next bit about in relation to social media and videos and stuff. The guards had a campaign. I think you had Pat McGlynn up last week talking about this, and I just wanted to mention it again because Grania put it on the Facebook page. It's called the We Don't Want This series of short films, and they were launched by the Chief Superintendent Grady Sheridan on Century Cinemas on Letterkenny on Tuesday the 17th of September. So these are short films that are in relation to peer-on-peer violence, and they take it from the point of view, the perspective of the victim, the child, the perpetrator, the parents, and then unfortunately the guards' perspective. And it's basically peer-on-peer violence that's been videoed. We've seen it happen. This is not a new phenomenon, but it's there has been a couple incidents in Donegal in the past that have hit the headlines.
Well, there was 2 days in Ballabafay before the launch of this campaign.
That's right, Greg.
That's how regularly it happens, and it's awful to see. It's horrible to see. And as I said to your colleague last week as well, Niall, even as maybe the bruises heal or the emotional distress of it, these videos are on the internet in perpetuity, and we need to break the links in it. Don't forward it on, don't share it, report it. You have to be the person that you'd want to be there for you if you were in that situation.
Yeah, forwarding these things is you're complicit in as well, Greg, and you're getting you're getting no kudos for forwarding on a video. If you see the video, just delete it, and maybe you get to send a person back to message saying, "Listen, this
why are you sending me that?"
Yeah, I don't want to see that. Yeah.
And young people are great, and if they're empowered with the information, they'll do that. And those videos are available on Garda Síochána Facebook page, and they're really well done, very very well produced, and do capture the reality of that situation. And I know there's not a load of 13 to 19-year-olds listening to this program, so it's up to granny and granddad, or mum and dad, or aunts and uncles to sort of have that quiet word.
And if there's any teachers listening, it's a nice wee sort of 15-minute project for them to maybe watch in school.
Last on a Friday or something. Yeah,
absolutely, Greg.
Okay. Scams, Garda email scam this time.
Yeah. So this one, we've talked about this many times before, and it takes many forms, but there's one that's kind of prevalent at the minute, and it's a fraud where a person receives correspondence claiming to be from ourselves and in Garda Síochána. It says that the individual is subject to ongoing legal proceedings. I know it sounds silly, Greg, but people are clicking on these links.
But it shocks you, you see.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I need to get ahead of this.
Yeah. And I suppose it's this one is in relation to identification data has been found on your device, whatever, and it relates to child abuse images and similar offences. And people get scared, and maybe they want to find out more and see what's going on or what's this about. This is wrong, so they click on the link. So our advice to help anybody become a victim of fraud is don't respond to any unsolicited email seeking personal, financial or security advice. Never click on a link or attachment in an unsolicited email. And if you believe the email is from a genuine source, verify this independently on the email sender we will never contact you via email and look for information, Greg. Again, contact any Garda station and we'll verify.
Yeah, it's just not how it's done. And other people are receiving emails purporting to be from investigators that are trying to sort out the estate of a deceased person, off the back of some of these shows that are on there. And again, people click out of curiosity.
Yeah, and if you have clicked on these links and you're a bit worried about it, call to the Garda station and we'll have a look at it.
There's no shame in that at all. Right, I'm already getting messages and texts about a firework annoyance. I'm sure you and your colleagues are well across this.
Yeah, again, this is the seasonal headache that we have this time of year, and again, it's more the annoyance of it, Greg, for innocent people that are maybe trying to get a bit of sleep, and the whole kind of lawlessness that it portrays when you have fireworks being lit off at all times of the day and night. So we want to urge anyone who's thinking about buying or using fireworks at Halloween, just have a think about it. There's so many horrific life-changing injuries that are sustained at Halloween, and we've had that in Donegal. People lost fingers, etc., with bangers and fireworks. They're not only dangerous, but there's very severe penalties. It's a very serious offence when it comes. We take it very seriously, Greg, and anyone found guilty of an offence of igniting or an illegal firework, throwing an ignited firework at a person or property, or possession indeed of illegal fireworks for sale or supply, the penalties are fines of up to €10,000 and 5 years imprisonment. So it's what they call an indictable offence. It's a very serious offence, Greg. So please act responsibility and alert ourselves if you come across the use or sale of any fireworks. Contact any Garda station at any time.
Yep, so if you're hearing them at 2 o'clock in the morning, Letterkenny, Buncrana, Milford and Ballyshannon are all 24/7 Garda stations, so they can be contacted at that point. Now to some questions, and often we get questions and it's confusing whether it's a civil matter or a criminal matter, or if it's a council responsibility or not, and maybe you can cast some light on this one. A dog is constantly barking in my estate. It has to be tied up. It's barking morning, noon and night. What can we do?
Yeah, this is again a very common one that we come across. A lot of people call the guards in relation to this. It's excessive dog barking, which causes a nuisance to any person, is an offence. But there's a procedure to go through, Greg, in relation to getting this to a conclusion. Your district court can make an order requiring the reduction of excessive barking by a dog, and can limit the number of dogs that can be kept on a premises. Because sometimes when there's more than one dog winds the other dog up and they're all barking at each other. Excuse me. So, and the court can direct that a dog be delivered to a dog warden as an unwanted dog. So it's up to the individual. You don't really need to contact the guards about it. It's not really a criminal matter, but you can make a complaint yourself about excessive barking to the district court under the noise regulations. So you can call to the district court there and wherever your court is.
Is there anything you need to do before you take that step?
Yes, indeed. So the first thing you have to do is you have to let the dog owner know that you're making a complaint. So, and sometimes that just resolves the issue because people don't want it to go that far. I know some people might not want to confront a neighbour or whatever, but if you're able to do
it's
it...
It's quality of life as well too, isn't it?
It has to be considered.
Sometimes you have to say, right, I don't want to upset my neighbour, but I can't sleep at night, and what's the story with these dogs?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to make that step, don't you?
And not even at night time, because, Greg, there's a lot of people working shift work and stuff, even ourselves there, and if a dog barking during the day can be just as bad,
That's true, yeah.
So the procedure is you complete a form under, it's called Section 108 of the Control of Dogs Act. You'll get that from the district court. And you fill that in, and they'll give you advice then on how to proceed.
Didn't know that existed. Actually, that's quite interesting. Can you drive your car if you're out of an NCT test, but you've booked the test? Now, I think there's a little bit of hangover from COVID here, and what was and wasn't, and any lenience that was given. Right. So my car, the test ran out today. Didn't realise it. I should have. I've booked it. They've told me my appointment's in 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Can I drive around with that booking note as if I'm covered with an NCT?
Well, Greg, if you look at the NCT website, they still have up in relation to the COVID regulations and the grace periods and stuff for COVID regulations. But as far as we're concerned and your insurance company is concerned, if you're in an accident and you've no NCT, even if you're on your way to the NCT centre, you're not covered to drive. Your insurance will not cover you to drive a car that has no NCT. You know, technically, if your car's out of NCT, be it a day, a week, a month, or 6 months, you're supposed to tow it to the NCT centre, get your NCT, and then you can drive it away.
All right, okay. Also, too, we talk about, not using your phone because it's an electronic device, or your tablet, or your whatever it might be. Now, a caller is wondering, Is a vape classified as an electronic device? So if you're pulling on your vape whilst driving, are you infringing the law?
I suppose in relation to this one, no. You're allowed to vape when you're driving, same as smoking. Obviously, it's up to you. But some of these vapes, Greg, you see them, they're letting off an awful cloud of smoke or whatever it is, steam or whatever. And it can impair your visibility. If your windows are up and you're letting off this puff of smoke and you can't see for a couple of seconds, if you met a guard and
they could make a call on that.
They could make a call. They could classify it as driving when you're distracted. So you could get a fixed penalty notice for that. I know it might seem harsh, but that's the law, unfortunately, Greg. Okay, listen, great stuff as always. Thank you so much, Niall. I really appreciate it. So that was Garda Niall Maguire from the Falcarra Garda station who called in with us for today's edition, the 24th of September 2024 of Community Garda Information. You'll be able to watch back on our socials and on Garda Síochána's Facebook page later. You can listen to it on the podcast as well. And it's back live with you after the 10 o'clock news next Tuesday.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. Heron Auto Donegal Town is offering a €5,000 scrappage sale on all 241 Opel and Kia cars. The deal includes models like the Opel Corsa, Astra, Mokka, Crossland and Kia Ceed, Nero, Exceed and Sportage. Available in both automatic and manual options. Call in to Heron Auto today. Now might be a great time to take advantage of this €5,000 scrappage deal. Finance available on all cars, so call to Heron Auto Donegal Town today.
At AXA, blocked drains and burst pipes don't worry us. And the kids? Well, let them be kids. From the little accidents to life's bigger problems, these things happen. But with AXA Home Insurance, our 24/7 emergency home assistance will have a fully qualified tradesperson with you quick. Together, we've got this. AXA. Know you can. Policy terms and conditions apply. AXA Insurance DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Are you thinking of transferring the family farm? If so, Teagasc are holding a Transferring the Family Farm clinic on Tuesday 8th of October in the Inishowen Gateway Hotel, Buncrana from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. This is an opportunity to meet with local accountants, solicitors, mediators and other relevant parties to help you make a plan for the future. This is a free event and all are welcome. To register, contact Letterkenny Teagasc office on 07491 21555.
A public service announcement from Donegal County Council. Did you or a family member work in Scotland between 1940 and 1990? Do you have photographs or memories of your time there that you will be willing to share? If so, the Culture Division of Donegal County Council would like your help with an exhibition on the working conditions and types of employment that Donegal men and women found in Scotland. If you have photographs of Donegal people at work in Scotland or a story to tell about your work there, please contact the Donegal County Heritage Office on 074 9163 824 or by email to donegalscotland@donegalcoco.ie. Donegal County Council, serving the people and preserving the heritage of Donegal.
Now, we're joined in studio by Michael McGill. Good morning, Michael. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning, Greg. Thank you for your time as well.
Good to see you up. The Northwest Special Olympic Sports Club is seeking people who are interested in coaching and volunteering. Now, two of your great servants are retiring.
They are. They're pulling back.
Okay.
They're going to be there to help out.
The transition.
The transition, yeah. Exactly. As you know, Nicky's been there probably the best part of 20 years. Pat's been there very similar. Really great servants to the club. And as you know, the club is self-funded, so there's no help other than for World Games, where Special Olympics Ireland will sponsor that or fund it.
All right, before we dig a bit deeper into the role of the volunteer, talk to us a little bit about the North West Special Olympic Sports Club and how many members it has and the work that it does, or any information you think is relevant.
Well, the sports club itself has somewhere in the region of about 40 odd members. Wow. Between basketball and football, right? They have 3 football teams. They have 2 basketball teams. And as you know, last year their basketball team went to the World Games and won gold. Their football team has been successful as well over the years, We've had a lot of success for such a small club from a very small beginning. there's been, I mean, going back to even Brady Lynch's time, who won gold, and then you had Patrick Quinlivan, you had Vicky, you had several other members that have won abroad. You know, they've been, some of them have been to Dubai, America, Berlin. I think some of them went to China.
Yeah, you can open up some amazing opportunities for not just coaches, not just participants, of course, but coaches as well.
The coaches, exactly. And most of the coaches, all our coaches that work in the club, there's 2 Tommies, there's Bill, there's Nicky and Pat. They're all qualified coaches, like, you know, to a certain level of coaching. They're actually quite high level of coaching on football and basketball, you know. The thing about it, Greg, really is it's a social aspect. It's the taking part. It's not about the winning and the losing. It's about taking part. A lot of people involved and athletes involved, you know, come with various different ADHD, autism, Down syndrome, you know, intellectual disabilities. And a lot of them they're not used to being out on their own. Maybe they're out with a family member and they're afraid when they start into the club and get in. But once they get in and meet the other players and the other members, it gives them that, it's the social aspect.
And independence too.
Independence.
Yeah, when it suits, obviously, the individual.
Yes.
It must be lovely to see that progress in people, Michael, from, you know, the first tentative arrival to see them growing in confidence and independence, or growing in whichever way they're able to grow.
Yes, it is, because you'll often see members joining the club very shy, very backward. And, you know, after a few weeks or maybe a couple of months in the club, you know, starting to come out of themselves. It's very hard as a parent, you know, as a parent myself of a special needs athlete, you're always worried, you're inclined to wrap them up in cotton wool a wee bit and do everything for them.
Yeah.
Whereas if they can be trained or taught how to go out and do things for themselves, and that's where the sports.
But these are transferable skills.
They are transferable
skills.
So,
you know, from the court or the pitch to other aspects of life.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't believe it, when they come in and they're in there for a few weeks, they don't need their parent anymore. And well, they don't. They do need them, but in a sense,
I know what you mean. You can see them freedom. You see them pulling back a little.
You see them pulling back a little bit, and. You know.
So in terms of the club itself, it runs on a Saturday morning between 11 and 1.
That's right, for basketball.
Yeah, and then Wednesday from 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. Wednesday night.
That's football.
Right. Now, the coaches and volunteers, are they the same individual, or are you looking for coaches and volunteers?
Well, they can be either or. If anybody has any coaching skills, like, so if you take the likes of, let's say, the ATU, they have a very good basketball team there. They have a very good soccer team. They also have a good hurling team and a good Gaelic team. There's guys and girls in there that are working, you know, that might be training, say, for whatever, nursing or something.
Yeah.
And to come in and work with special needs gives them a great insight.
Fantastic for the CV.
And the other thing for the CV, the fact that they're volunteering on a CV, as you know yourself, Greg, always a big plus when you go to any company, you know.
Yeah, because it's an opportunity for your own personal growth, and that's what your future employee recognises as well. Now, in terms of travel and what have you, you mentioned that, and this is important because it would have to suit the right applicants as well. There are away games and what have you. Are there?
Yes.
Would people need to be available for that?
Well, the thing is, if we get enough volunteers, we only have away games, say, about 5 or 6 times a year, right? And they go as far, with us being in Ulster, as usually Antrim, Belfast. So it means a Saturday could be taken up from, say, 8 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the evening. And to have people that could do that, maybe, if you have enough volunteers, it means that any one person might only be doing that maybe once every couple of months.
Yeah, I get you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The idea is they need a carer with them who's qualified, that has Garda vetted, that has the safe training, you know.
Well, just in relation to that, Garda vetting is fantastic because it protects the individual and it protects the younger people or the older people, wherever it is. So that's fine. That's good. That has to be done.
Yes.
Now, in terms of the safeguarding course,
yes,
can you at the club support people in that safeguarding course?
We can, of course.
Excellent.
And we'll support them and we'll give them information on it. There's actually a volunteer, the Donegal volunteer group, who are contactable online. You can do the Garda vetting online now as well. And Garda vetting online is very simple. once somebody shows you how to do it. Because basically all it asks is, where were you born? Where did you live? Let's say they said to you, where did you live? And you said, well, I lived in Sligo and now I live in Letterkenny. How long did you live in Sligo? From 1999 to 2005. And that's it. And you put in the rest of your details, your PPS number and that goes through, and the guards vet that. They would check with the local Garda in Sligo, was there any record, or the local Garda in Letterkenny. Or if you were further abroad, say you were in Northern Ireland or you were in England, then they would check with Interpol or the police abroad. That's it.
Which is standard practice now. I think when it was first introduced, people were like, they saw it as some sort of a questioning of their character. And I get that now, but we're at a point now where everyone understands why it's there and how important it is to safeguard everybody. Also, too, since the last time maybe you were looking for coaches and volunteers, there's the population of Donegal has grown. There's people from different countries, and you're looking to reach them as well. A great way to get involved, or even maybe as members of the club, as well as potential coaches or volunteers.
Of course, I mean, anybody that lives within the EU or the EEA, which is as you know, the two countries outside the EU, Liechtenstein and I think it's Iceland. There's 27 countries in the EU, and the plus them is 29. Anybody can come into the club. We don't care where they come from. If they're part of the European community, they can prove who they are. Obviously, they would need ID and things like that. Everybody's welcome. Mm-hmm. We already have a couple of lads involved down there, from different parts that are from different parts of Europe. But we would like more people in. There's a lot of people from Ukraine, a lot of people from Poland, Latvia. They're all very welcome to come into the club if they want to come in and help out, or if they have athletes or children or family members that have disability,
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, it's about participating. It's not about winning and losing, but obviously there are opportunities to qualify and reach the finals of games like the Olympic, Paralympics, for an example.
Precisely.
So there are potential opportunities for people to get front row seats effectively and watch and cheer on their athletes right there presently. That's where you get a little bit of financial support, I'd imagine.
Exactly, for World Games. Mm. The thing about the Paralympics, the Paralympian could join us as special needs as well. They could come and train with us if they wanted. As I said, the coaching is as A1, the quality of the coaching. We have coaches, like I said, that are very well qualified. We're also bringing a new thing on board now. We're bringing on golf as well. Mm-hmm. And we've got Michael Comerford, who actually works with McGurk's down here in Letterkenny now. And Michael is the he's been selected by the Irish Special Olympics.
It's astonishing, and perhaps it shouldn't be, it shows my ignorance, but it's astonishing the level to which these golfers, some of them without sight,
yes,
are playing off single-digit handicaps. Like, it's really, really remarkable. So it's great to see that included, because I think that's a growing area of sport. And I've noted too quite a lot of people who have an acquired disability.
Yes.
Take golf up.
Yes. Exactly.
Because they can participate, and it helps with all different elements of recovery and dealing and coping. Right. So I mean, listen, it's open to everyone, obviously, of age, but you think might be particularly suited maybe to someone who's retired, maybe early retirement, late retirement, a bit more time in their hands, has a history or background in coaching or volunteering, or wants to explore those. It's never too late.
It's never too late ever. I mean, everybody's welcome. It doesn't matter what their age. They have to be over 16. That's the minimum age to join the club and to be a coach or to be involved with the club. But anything from there up is fine. Everybody's welcome.
And there's a huge range of disabilities as well, from physical to learning disabilities. Right. Or it's incredibly broad church. Just I'm saying that to maybe mums and dads who think that their child could benefit from this.
Well, I mean, you've acquired brain injuries and things like that there. You have, like I said, the Paralympics where they may have a limb missing or whatever. There's a group in America called the One Arm Bandits, right? They're a golfing group. They are absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
You want to see them hit a golf ball.
I know.
Now, I play golf and it would put me to shame.
Yeah.
And I've got all my faculties, as a man says.
I love the way I love how they've chosen that name for themselves. It's great.
And they are spectacular to watch, and they have a great competition in America for it. I don't know if they have it here in Britain or Ireland or anywhere else. But everybody's welcome. There's a lot of people who retire young, and they may want part-time work, or they might want to, a lot of people from who have trained maybe in
They don't want to go into the garden.
They don't want to go into the garden.
Do you know what I mean?
But they're able. Maybe they're doing a part-time job as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, it's only as I said, you've only got 2 hours on a Saturday, 2 hours on a Wednesday. If you have 9 or 10 volunteers, they might only be in there on the club once a month.
Yeah.
But they're welcome to come at any time and share.
Well, listen, I think the way it is, it's a broad invitation from Michael here. If you want any more information, and I think that's your first port of call, to ring up and say, look, I heard you chatting to Greg in Highland there,
yes.
And I'm just wondering, this is my situation. Well, go to email NWSO Letterkenny at sosportsclub.ie. This is not what I'm going to do a course about email addresses.
I know they're terrible.
Do you know what I mean? I'm trying, Michael. I'm trying. But anyway, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll link all of this stuff on our Facebook, and if anyone wants this information, we can pass it on. Give us a call. We've got numbers for Pat and Nikki as well.
Yes.
And we've got that email address. It's NWSO Letterkenny at sosportsclub.ie. But as I say, we've all that contact, and we'll pass all that info. And it's clear, Michael, that you're looking forward to chatting to people.
Exactly. As I said, it's up on our own Facebook page and on our Special Olympics, and both Pat and Nikki's numbers are up on it as well. So there's no problem with that.
Brilliant.
And as I said, I'll talk to anybody at any time. By the way, just on the 12th of October this year, from 10 in the morning to 2 p.m, we're going to have an open day.
Okay.
Up at the vestry, right, in the club. Anybody that wants to come and inquire, if they want to join the club or if they want to do anything, volunteer, they're more than welcome to come up, and we'll have a chat, and there'll be several of us there to talk to.
And I think, as you say, we can be very protective of our children, our younger people, and don't necessarily say it's not for your child. Bring them to that. That's the perfect open day, because you've taught Michael of seeing people who have progressed very quickly through this with all different types of disability. So give it a go.
Give it a go.
So it's the 12th of October at the vestry on what times?
On Saturday the 12th of October from 10 in the morning to 2 p.m.
Brilliant. Okay. Michael, thanks so much for your
Thank
time.
you very much,
really
Greg.
Appreciate it. Love chatting to you. Michael McGill there.
You've heard of the egg muffin, but have you heard of the gloriously delicious Centra egg muffin with the legendary Super Queen sausage? An Irish national treasure. The egg muffin is a sizzling new addition to Centra deli counters around the country, meaning breakfast just got so much better. Centra, live every day.
Sometimes getting older is a good thing. Take a fine cheese. With steady planning, careful preparation and trusted guidance, at every stage of the process, it matures. At Standard Life, we believe in a similar approach when planning for retirement. Because when you do, things get better with age. Search Retirement Hub or talk to your financial advisor today. Standard Life International DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Thank you for attending this meditation session for badgers who forgot to check for gas pipes before digging, without knowing how disruptive it could be, putting others at risk and doing it unknowingly for all their working life. And it could have been avoided had they just checked in the first place. Let's begin.
Always check for gas pipelines before you break ground. Visit gasnetworks.ie/dig for more information.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhinney's. With over 50 years of serving the community in Donegal, McElhinney's is proud to be part of every moment, big and small. Support local, shop McElhinney's Ballybuffet.
So a mix of cloud and sunny spells today with just a few well scattered showers. Highest temperatures 12 or 13 degrees in a light to moderate west to northwest breeze. A caller says, we can talk about Garda vetting, but how did a coach who was convicted of sex offences get a job as a tennis coach in the Butt Hall? Well, you see, the Butt Hall Tennis Club, we don't want to do anything to discourage people from getting Garda vetted or whatever, but at the same time, if someone takes the time to text in, I want to address that. Obviously, nothing is. If you're vetted and you haven't been convicted of anything, nothing's going to show up. So it does. If you're found guilty of something after you've been vetted, Do you understand? Vetting's not going to flag that up. They say a lot of people are slipping through the cracks with the Garda vetting. That's not the case in the very case that you cited there. There just was no previous convictions as far as I'm aware. And as I say, you know, even I don't want to do anything that would discourage anyone from. We need volunteers. Vetting is part of it, and 99.9% of people have the best of intentions and fly through the vetting. So, as I say, I get your point. That's why I read it out. But also at the same time, our fear or our reaction, I think, has to be proportionate.
The Lidl Kickstart Supplier Development Programme is kicking off. Lidl is continuing to support Irish businesses by giving 45 new Irish suppliers the chance to showcase their products in over 200 Lidl stores. Come and try everything from Irish hot sauces to fresh family ready meals. Go on, shop without compromise. Go full Lidl today.
Is your child looking for the party of the century? Look no further, as Century Complex has you covered. Century Complex has several packages to choose from that incorporate Century Cinema and Century Play to suit all ages. For more information, please email us at bookings@centurycinemas.ie or call us on 07491 21976.
For all your training needs, Northwest Forestry Services Training Department Ballybuffet offer a wide range of courses from training bodies such as NPTC City and Guilds, QQI, LADRA and ABA International. Courses include all land-based services such as chainsaw, tree climbing and rescue, pesticides, working in heights and ATV training. Other courses offered include first aid responder, manual handling and building safety, to name but a few. For a full list of training courses and availability, contact Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet on 074 91 32033.
They say time equals money, so spend your money where you spend your time. No matter what your preference is, Cooney's Home Interiors has something to suit every taste and budget. With our extensive range of home furnishing to fit every room and style, from mattresses and beds to rugs, mirrors and suites of furniture. Visit us in store today and see for yourself what Cooney's have to offer, and let us help you make your dream home a reality. Cooney's Home Interiors, Letterkenny Retail Park. Huge range, great prices.
At Volkswagen, we've really got to know the people of Ireland. 75 years of understanding what you love, how you live, who you are, and the life you lead. So we've brought you one much-loved car after another. From the original Beetle, the iconic Golf, to today's family-friendly Tiguan and our all-electric ID range. Knowing that whatever you choose, it's you who makes it your Volkswagen. Celebrating 75 years in Ireland. Order your new Volkswagen today.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
It is 11 o'clock, time for a news update. It's good morning again to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Concerns about the future of Fawn Health Centre have been somewhat alleviated following a meeting between the local committee and the HSE yesterday. A spokesperson for the committee announced on social media that the health centre will remain open and will have a nurse available for the next number of weeks. Garda are investigating a criminal damage incident that occurred at St Mary's Church graveyard in Ramelton almost 2 months ago and was recently reported. The damage was caused to a grave within the graveyard, and it's believed to have happened between 10 and 11 o'clock on the morning of Friday the 26th of July. Garda say this is a very upsetting incident for the family involved, and they're very anxious to progress the matter. An investigation is underway following the theft of a Grant oil burner from a house in Duherry. The burner was stolen from a property in Rarknan Chapel area between 3 p.m. on Friday the 13th of September and 9 a.m. the following Monday. Gardaí are appealing to anyone who may have witnessed suspicious activity or who has information that could assist with their inquiries to contact them. A man has been charged in relation to 2 traffic incidents in Derry that occurred on August 31st and the 14th of September. He's due to appear in court later today. Charges include dangerous driving, using a motor vehicle without insurance and failing to stop where an incident occurred causing injury. Further inquiries led to additional drug-related charges, including possession and being concerned in the supply of a Class B controlled drug. Despite Halloween being weeks away, Gardaí have already received complaints related to fireworks. They're now urging those considering buying or using fireworks to think about the dangers involved. They warn that in addition to horrific injuries sustained annually due to these devices, there are severe criminal penalties for anyone found guilty of igniting an illegal firework. These include fines of up to €10,000 and 5 years of imprisonment. And finally, road users are advised to use caution on Spout Road in Strabane due to an oil spill. While the road remains open, drivers should slow down and increase their following distance. PSNI are advising them to seek an alternative route if possible. That's all for now from Highland Radio News. We'll be back with more at 12 noon.
Donna Marie, thanks very much.
Yeah, we're good mates, yeah. Look, I'm always there for him, 100%, through thick and thin. And sure, he likes having me around. Anytime he's going out, I'll get the shout, you know? And someday, I'll probably kill him.
Smoking isn't the friend you think it is. Quit for 28 days and start taking back control. Find out how at quit.ie or free phone 1800 201 203 from the HSE.
Right, a wee bit of musical chairs there. We got sorted. Jonathan Doherty is Director of Efficient Renewables and EcoForest Ireland, is with us in studio. Good morning to you.
How are you doing, Greg? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing fantastic. Right, a big day this Thursday. What's happening?
So we're having our official opening day down in Newton Cunningham. This is where our offices are and our showrooms there. So you can see all live products. What we do is we have the air-to-water heat pumps, ground source heat pumps, and solar PV systems there too. So they're all working products.
I think this is really important because I obviously talk about this stuff quite a bit, but I actually don't know what I'm talking about, if the truth be told. I have a basic idea of how they function, but I've not really seen them working in situ. So you're saying this is an opportunity for people to, if they're maybe renovating a new build, they're going for the derelict property renovation grant or whatever it might be, they're able to go and actually see these products functioning.
So there's one, seeing them functioning, get an understanding of them, but the other thing is seeing the size of them, the room, the space they need, and that's the most common things people need to see, is seeing how much area they need in the room, in the house, how much space it takes up into the building.
And they can save an awful lot of money, but would you agree too that when you're looking at this, particularly with an existing build or indeed a new build, that you also have to look at insulation as well, because the more efficient your house is in that regard, the more effective these products can often be in terms of heating your home?
Oh yeah, insulation is a big key, and that insulation on windows, it's anything. If you're putting heat into it, you want it to stay there. So any heating system is going to cost a lot of money if all the heating's escaping. So it all come part and parcel.
Right. So give us a brief idea of how a heat pump works.
So a heat pump works is it's using electricity, okay, but every unit of electricity it uses, it gives you 4 times more heat output for that. Whereas every unit of oil or a litre of oil, you're only getting 90% of the heat out of that. So that's generally what the heat pump works. And you have geothermal and air to water. So the air to water uses the air temperature to collect its energy, and the geothermal uses the ground, whether it be a flat loop collector or a borehole where you drill down into the ground then.
And are they choices for every home, or in speaking to experts, would they recommend a particular version of the heat pump for a particular setup?
Geothermal is the best because you've got a constant even temperature in the ground, but retrofitting geothermal is a bit more difficult, and that's why the air to water is a solution there. On new builds, most of them do choose geothermal because it's a lot easier to do it from scratch. So it's kind of down to the situation. It has to be assessed in.
Okay. Pro Air ventilation system, what's that?
So that's your heat recovery ventilation. So again, it's kind of more for new builds, is the houses are more airtight and sealed.
Well, it's kind of important at the moment because a lot of people, what we're seeing, and it's a symptom of the defective concrete block crisis we have here as well, a lot of people are either building now or will be rebuilding. It could be first-time builders, don't get me wrong, But do you know what I mean? I think there's a lot of people that this information is going to be relative or relevant to, because a lot of people are at the planning stage and looking forward ahead. So now's the time to start gathering up that info, isn't it? So Pro Air ventilation system, how does that work again?
So
briefly,
ventilation. So if you have a sealed box, it gets stuffy and hard to breathe in, kind of such. So instead of all your hard work of heating in the building and opening up the windows and letting fresh air, cooling it down again, what the heat recovery ventilation does, it brings in fresh air and recovers the heat as it going out there. So it's kind of heating in the air with the stale air, but giving you fresh air in the building without losing any heat of the building.
Right. So if it feels a bit warm, you're not opening the window.
Exactly.
Which is kind of
defeating the purpose.
counterintuitive. But you know what? People do that too. Now, I mean, obviously there's always a cost to the consumer, but I've been told, and I don't know, but I've been told that the SEAA grants do go a long way to doing a lot of this work, and there'll be experts on hand to give that information as well on Thursday.
Yeah. So we're having talks on the day. We're having SEAA there doing talks on it, and we're doing talks ourselves with the solar heat pumps. And we also have Steve Robb there from the Farmers Journal as well talking about the grants for farmers now with the PV solar as well. So it's good to get information for them, because there's good paying grants on the farmers as well.
Yeah, and as well as that too, I focused a little bit on residential properties and the heating options for them. But I mean, there's also there's the way we're going is there's going to be an expectation for all commercial properties, I think, in time to be carbon neutral.
Yes.
So you either avail of grants or whatever systems are there now, or you play catch up in a couple of years. But I think that's the direction of travel. That's where we're going.
Yes.
So there's conversations too for those in the commercial sector.
Yeah. So like you've seen it being pushed in or about the domestic, all the grants available. Now it is starting to come into the commercial side of it, and we do have James Raleigh there giving a talk on what grants are available for commercial buildings, and there is good offering grants there for them.
Yeah. Now, solar panels have been around forever, but I presume there's been great advances in their efficiency and how much power they can actually produce.
Yeah. So PV solar's the buzz one now at the moment, which is generating electricity for your building, and it can also generate when you're generating excess electricity, it can turn on your immersion heater to heat your hot water and give you hot water all through the summer then. But there's the panel outputs have risen, so when they started they were only like 200 watts, and now they're up to like 450 watts.
Yeah. And you don't need direct constant sunlight for them to be effective.
No, it's
which
daylight.
Is a bit of they've been developed to the point now whereby they can draw that power from natural light.
It's building a system big enough to generate power for your building, and that's what we do. Is we do a site survey and seeing what the needs are for that building and design a system to suit that.
All right, okay. So it runs throughout Thursday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's at the Efficient Renewables business premises. It's Unit 2, Main Street, Newtown, Cunningham. So I think it could be for someone planning or wanting to explore some of this stuff to get the facts themselves.
Oh, why?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's to give a good insight.
It's one of those areas where you can get a lot of people saying it's a load of crap and a lot of people saying it's the best thing, sliced bread.
Yes.
And, it's nice to get along and actually see for yourself
Just go
what's
and
going
see
on,
it,
because
and
people will be motivated, you see, in where they're coming from.
And we'll be giving advice and talking. There'll be people there to sit down and chat to if you have your plans or building or projects. Would give you advice and what's the best solution and which way to go.
Talk about the efficiency of heat pumps, the longevity of them, all that kind of stuff, which will be useful. We're broadcasting live there as well from 12 noon to 2:30 p.m. So that's also an excuse to land down there. John Breslin's broadcasting live from the showroom, and a good competition running on the day as well.
Yeah, so we have a competition for existing and new customers, which will be giving them away a 10-panel solar system. So to enter it, as existing customers can come and register for it, and anyone ordering systems are automatically added in then for the draw then.
And the inverters, that's what transfers it to AC, or what's an inverter?
Yeah, so your panels generate DC current, and in the buildings your socket is AC, so the inverter converts it from DC to AC.
All right, okay. And some goodies too, tea, coffee, and light bites. Sounds non-committal, that to me.
Well, look, we'll be giving prizes out on the day.
Yeah, but I'm on about the light bites here. Is it going to be Sunday biscuits, or are we talking maybe a sandwich?
I would need to check.
I know, that's what I'm saying. They're covering their ass here. But anyway, listen, either way, it's going to be nice, of course. Tea, coffee, light bites served throughout the day. And you really want to sort of, I think, to get the message out there that this is an open day for everyone. And there's going to be experts on hand. It's going to be nice and casual to have a chat and see what options are best for you. And also, to, I think, which is useful, to see how you might be able to avail to the maximum of the SEAI grant. And I also know that credit unions are quite active in this space as well in terms of assisting people with any shortfall that might be there. And credit union on site as well, yeah?
Yeah, so we're going to have other stands there, kind of, which are related to all this. So we'll have the credit union there. We're going to have Lynch windows there that give you advice on windows. We have McGee insulation there as well, about insulation for the property. And we have ProAir themselves there as well on the ventilation systems.
All right, good stuff. Look, it's the future. So you might as well go in and find out some information. It may not be for you. It could be the best thing you ever did, because I get the impression you could go in there sort of tentatively thinking, this is the way I want to go, but how can I do it? And come out going, right, this is what would work for me. That's what I can get via a grant, and this is how I can fund the shortfall if I need to with the credit union. And it's a one-stop shop. So a big open invitation, some delicious light bites with tea and coffee throughout the day. We're broadcasting there as well with John Breslin between 12 and 12:30. Anything else you want to add? I think we've covered everything there.
Look, and if you can't make it today, the showroom's always open.
Yeah, exactly.
From Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. So call in anytime.
All right, Jonathan, thanks very much. That's Jonathan Doherty of Efficient Renewables and Eco Forest Ireland.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
We love Irish music, and we want to show our support for the movers, the makers and the shakers. Right through Irish Music Month this September, join Highland Radio in celebrating those who make every party, every drive and every day simply magic. Buy Irish albums, Irish tickets, Irish t-shirts and Irish music merch direct from the musicians themselves. Let's support Irish Music Month. Let's buy Irish. Irish Music Month. Irish Radio supporting Irish artists with IBI and Hot Press, supported by Commission Amon Sound and Vision Scheme, funded by the television licence fee.
At the heart of every successful business are highly skilled and talented people. That's why at SkillNet Ireland, we know that every skill counts. Whatever sector your business operates in and whatever skills you or your business needs, contact one of our 70 SkillNet business networks for training and development that's industry-led and can improve your business success. Visit skillnetireland.ie for upskilling and reskilling supports to develop your team. SkillNet Ireland is a business support agency of the Government of Ireland.
Are you ready to flip, tumble and soar over to Michael Murphy Sports to get your hands on the Kids Gymnastics Gym Range, the ultimate gift for the young gymnast in your family? Whether they're just starting or perfecting their routine, Kids Gymnastics has everything from wedge mats to balance beams in a range of vibrant colours and styles. See michaelmurphysports.ie.
This autumn, there's only one place for men's fashion. Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park. 2 floors packed with the latest streetwear, suiting, footwear, casual wear and denims. Shop the autumn collection now, in-store or online.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
All right, the time's 11:15. Right, our next guests are in studio with us. Carol McCann. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning, Greg.
Thanks so much for joining me. And we also have Darren Collins, who's Secretary of Sean McCool's. Good morning to you. Now, Sean McCool's is hosting a mental health awareness event called Heads Up, and it's on this Friday, September 27th in Jackson's Hotel at 8 p.m. Now, tell us more about this, Carol, this initiative. Why did you decide to run it? And we'll talk more about what's happening on the night.
Well, I suppose as a club, we wanted to do something in terms of mental health. So I suppose a few of us put our heads together and we decided that we wanted to host a mental health evening, but we probably wanted to be a wee bit more unique and have people on the stage that people identified with or people could connect with. So we kind of looked at some of the main people in sport that would be available, made contact with them, and a lot of them came back to us. So I suppose the first one we ran with Shane Carthy. He's an author of Dark Blue. Excellent book. Really, really recommend it. And one of the things that stood out was that his story is very typical for any young person that's struggling, in the sense that they, you know, he didn't know what was wrong with him, but he knew there was something wrong with him. So he talked a lot about, you know, breaking down to his parents and having thoughts, and then going out that evening and being man of the match in an under-21 final. So stuff like that, because when we see that with people, you can see the kind of where they can kind of be in good form and be in bad form. And then
and if you're in that position, it's hard to square that circle. It feels like an oxymoron, doesn't it? How can I be in this low place mentally and excel moments later? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So that was what we wanted to do. We wanted to kind of have that collaboration of having a few main speakers and then having professionals there that'll say, look, if you're feeling like that, or if this is what happens to you, or if you know somebody, here's what you can do. It's not about trying to save everybody, but it's about just pointing people in the right direction.
He's joined by Oisin McConville from Armagh, Ronan McNamee from Tyrone, Katie Heron, Donegal senior footballer, of course, and under-20s mentor Kevin Mills. The MC for the night two's our own Brendan Devaney, a former Donegal player as well. So talk to us about what's coming up on the night, Darren.
I suppose, Greg, it is, as Carol touched on, it's real stories. It's people who've gone through these issues. They're public figures. We all know them from the world of sport and, you know, being in the TV and on magazines and stuff. But, you know, people can read articles and they can listen to talks, but when they hear people who they know who've gone through these struggles, it helps identify what they may be going through themselves. You know, I've always said that the mind is the most dangerous weapon because it controls your thoughts, it controls your moods, and sometimes the smallest little thing can go a long way in, you know, changing things and changing your direction. So I suppose Carol's put an awful lot of work into this on our behalf, as the largest club in the Twin Towns and a hub in the Twin Towns. We felt it was kind of our responsibility as a community group to put this out there and into the wider diaspora in Donegal.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, your community, like all communities, you know, there's a mix going on. We're seeing, I think, an increase in poor mental health, but also we're seeing more of awareness of it. Now, very tragically, sometimes that can be if someone ends their life. But it also means that maybe people feel they can speak more openly as well on it. So that's all part of it. Carol, who is it for? And who's invited? And I mean, are people still open to attend?
Absolutely. And I suppose initially, if we're honest, we kind of thought maybe young players in terms of females and males. And I remember chatting to an older or a long-time member, maybe, if I'm more PC, in McCool's. And I remember saying to him, this is going to help so many young people. And he said, you know what, this is going to help me too. And I thought that was so powerful. Because, you know what, I thought everybody's going to take something. If somebody takes, if everybody takes one thing from this night. So realistically, I think that everybody can get something of this night. And the other thing is, it's merely been presented through the lens of the GAA, but it's not necessarily for people with anything to do with the GAA. You know, it's for teachers, it's for coaches, it's for players, it's for young people. We were saying that actually, we were chatting coming over, you know, young people maybe from 15, 16 up, you know, that maybe just are going into that hateful time in life. And I suppose Shane Carthy and maybe Ronan are going to touch on that. That's when things started to go down for Shane. You know, so I think in terms of that, yes, it is a GAA initiative. Yes, we are hosting it through the lens of that. But I think anybody can get something from this, even parents.
Yeah, and I've kind of focused on you know, poor mental health, but also too, and you do see high incidence of it in particularly in sport, is addiction. It could be to gambling or alcohol, and just like the mental health, you could have someone that, you know, would drink quite heavily or maybe, you know, takes other drugs, but can also still function at the highest level. Yeah. Eventually it catches up with you, right? We know that. But it's not just about poor mental health. It's about the pitfalls that can come from, you know, addiction.
Yeah, and I think that's the other good thing to hear, is that we have the likes of Eugene Duffy, who's a scam nurse. I know he was texting you a few weeks ago. I think he hounded you a wee bit, Greg, did he? About the mental health night.
I don't call it hounding.
I had to get that in. I was chatting him coming up the road. But, you know, Eugene's suicide crisis assessment nurse. Yeah. And he's going to talk after the speakers, and he's going to talk about, you know, how you know that when you're struggling and stuff like that. Because I think one of the biggest things is a lot of people don't realise when they are struggling or if they're struggling or what's happening to them. You know, I think a lot of people, and I'm always going back to Shane Carthy because I was really, really taken by his book, but he didn't know what was wrong with him. And I think life is going at such an uncanny pace. Like, there's some days we literally don't have time.
But you see, as well as that too, with poor mental health, our brain can work against us as well, and our brain's the most powerful thing there is, and we also have a very little understanding of it, and our brain can think it's protecting us. So if, say, for instance, in terms of an addiction, for instance, or poor mental health, your brain can almost tell you not to seek help or not to seek out help because it thinks it's protecting you from something, right? It's the most basic way of putting it, but that's what's happening. And it's often, too, when people overcome that and say, right, brain, I'm going to go and have a chat to someone, or I think there might be a problem, I recognize the problem. And what's going to be demonstrated on the stage, and it's not an all roses situation. You don't have poor mental health, get better, and then never, some people do. But the bottom line is, and I'm sure we'll hear from the guests, it's ongoing. You live with it. You learn to deal with it. It's part of it. There's no, there is, of course, a very happy ending, and people can get better, right? But sometimes there's an unrealistic path that is portrayed, and then people think that's not achievable for them. But what you're going to hear on Friday is from real people, just like you, but also that have excelled in their chosen sports or what have you. And it's their real stories, Darren. And it's about getting someone to recognise in them what they hear from the guests, and then to go on that quite easy path for a lot of people to feel better.
I mean, if only one person gets the chance to realise that, wait 1 second, I need to get help from this night, then it's worth it. The organisation and Carol will agree. If only one person who's listening to the radio now who wants to turn up or thinks I'm struggling, asking for help is not a sign of weakness. Asking for help is a sign of strength, because you've realised in yourself something's not right and I need to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
It no longer is a stigma to have mental health issues. We all have them. Some people want to talk about them, some don't. We all know people who have issues with alcohol. We all know people who have issues with maybe drugs, other addictions, gambling, etc. So if it helps one person, then it's all worth it.
And it's normalising at times, Carol, that people are going poor mental health. Brendan Devaney spoke about that himself, that the struggles and things that they've been through. I've spoken about my ongoing, it's more controlled at the moment, but completely debilitating chronic anxiety. You know what I mean? There's no shame in talking about it. And you know what? If someone judges you on it, they're probably not great people to have around you in any case. Everybody has little moments. How we identify it or whatever can be different for different people. But the truth is, there's no shame in it. You just get the appropriate help and move forward.
And I think by having more nights like this, because we've great people in the GAA in different circles, and I think by having more nights like this, you're going to break that stigma, and it's going to encourage people to talk, because they've all said that by talking about their story has helped them. So I think, that's what we should be using, people like this in our communities, just to set out that, to encourage people to talk, because then we can point them in the right direction.
Yeah, and as I say, it's ticket-only event. Tickets available through Eventbrite. We'll link it on our socials, but I'll get the guys here to emphasise this. But I think what Carol has been very good at emphasising as well is this is driven by the GEA of the community, but it's for all of the community, even those not involved with the GEA club. And I think, it's maybe an opportunity to invite a young person in your house. So say there is a young person in your house and maybe you've seen their behaviour change a little bit, or you're trying to figure out a way to trigger a wider conversation.
Yes.
You don't have to announce what it's about. Just go along and that might be the person, as you referenced, Darren, that might be the person, Carol, that is reached through this process.
Correct.
100%. And I think the other thing is we do have a bit of information there that we'll give to everybody as well. It's just a kind of an emergency mental health sheets so that they can take home with them, because they might need it now, but a family member could need it before the end of the year.
Yeah,
so that's what.
Okay. And also to a lot of former footballers or people involved in sport will understand that once you retire, other challenges the loss of that camaraderie. People have to find it elsewhere. People can turn to drink or gambling or whatever it might be. So maybe there's former players as well that might benefit from this. And also to how did you compile the list then? So obviously, it's great to have Shane Carthy on, a well-known author as well as being an excellent sports person, Oisin McConville, Ronan McNamee, and then Katie and Kevin, what role are they going to play on the night?
They are going to play. Well, I suppose we contacted many people and they came back. A lot of people came back. We kind of worked it around the three main speakers. Kevin is going to talk about, he does the safe talk training, which is a suicide awareness training. I got him over to McCool's in July. It's brilliant training. I would advise anybody to get it. He really holds your attention, and he's so skilled. Like, Kevin's got a lot of experience with mental health and addiction professionally. So that he's going to talk about that, but he's also going to talk about, you know, challenges for coaches. And like, that could be coaches, but it could also be a teacher. You know what I mean? So again, it's presented through the GA, but it's for other walks of life, and maybe make it a more generic way of helping and looking out for things. Katie Hearn's going to talk about, I spoke to her last night, lovely girl, and she's a good stalwart for females in Donegal. She wants to talk about maybe the struggles she's had with pressures of being the captain and things she's overcame in her life, and going to Australia and getting the balance right.
Yeah, because often too, and it's good to get a woman's voice in there too.
Absolutely.
Because often as we try and catch up on the whole mental health thing, we can, and understandably, focus a lot on men. But obviously women face all of these all these challenges as well. But there is a particular issue with guys, so it's no harm in a particular focus there. And also, you know, like, there's never the wrong time to sort of say, right, you know, what they're talking about on the radio, that's how I feel. People sometimes live with anxiety or live with stress or poor mental health, and they just put it down to the way they are, which is not healthy, and it's not a way to live your life as well. And there's some fantastic supports out there. Either go and chat to your GP, dependent on where you are at in your journey, or contact one of the helplines. There's no shame in that, and it can be, and I've spoken to thousands of people, I would say, at this stage, where it was the beginning of an improved life, and more contentment and happiness, and just life being easier, rather than carrying a dark passenger around with you all the time when there's no need to most of the time. So how do people go about getting a ticket? Through Eventbrite? But what does that mean? What do I search for?
Well, I suppose you can go into any of the social media pages like McCool's. I know the Donegal have shared it. Realistically, you can pay on the night. We're encouraging people to go through Eventbrite because we want everybody to have a seat. We want it to be nice and relaxed. There's tea and coffee available. So I suppose we are encouraging people, but I mean, look, nobody's going to be turned away. But we want to know a rough idea. So Eventbrite really through the social media, or if you contact anybody from the McCool's, we'll send out the link.
Okay, and we'll link it on our socials as well, on the Highland Hub page, so that you can, it'll link you through to it. It is on Friday night. It's at 8 p.m. There's a fantastic lineup of guests. And this is a story of reality, but recovery and hope as well.
Absolutely.
This is as all good things are. We can talk about serious things, Darren, and you hope it lands.
Yeah.
But it's also done in a way that's entertaining. And
there's always tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, today may be dark and gloomy, but there's always tomorrow, and these guys here will be able to show you that tomorrow did come for them.
And Brendan Devaney, as I say, is going to be the MC, so he's going to keep things moving along nicely as well, as you can imagine. Right, Carol, what's your role within the club? Sorry, I don't have it written in front of me.
Health and Wellbeing Officer.
Health and Wellbeing Officer, that's good. I just wanted to make sure. Oh, it is written in front of me. I see
keeps
that
the rest
now.
of us in line. Greg.
Exactly.
Well, no, it's a big job. But I mean, I think the main thing too, you mentioned Brendan Devaney, and I would be an avid listener through the GA social with Oisín McConville and Thomas Nubluck, and Brendan's interview on that was just amazing. So he really ties this together very well, because we all know that poor Brendan went through a tough time, and you know, with bereavement, not going on that, but even having Brendan on the stage is going to create a lot of hope to people.
Yeah, exactly. Of course it is. Darren Collins, Secretary of Sean McCool's, thanks. Good to have you in studio. And Carol McCann, Health and Wellbeing Officer with Sean McCool's Club. So it's going to be a very informative, entertaining evening. Doors open at 7:15 this Friday. Kick-off throw-in is at 8 p.m. I corrected myself immediately. Relax yourself.
Throw-in.
I corrected myself immediately. It's at Glenfinn Street in Ballybofey. Go to Eventbrite. We will link all that. It's linked all over the socials of McCool's as well. But as Carol quite rightly pointed out, no one's going to be turned away in the evening. They just want to make sure everyone has a seat. Anything either of the two you want to add just before we...
Well, I suppose the only thing I'd say is that Heads Up is a very apt name of this night, because it's about giving people a heads up of the available, of what can happen and what services are available, but also keep your head up, not about pretending that things are okay, but even if you don't believe in yourself, we do.
Yeah, and I also too, it can feel very lonely. I don't want people to feel lonely, especially if someone's listening to this now. Don't feel lonely. Contact us, but there's other numbers we can put you in contact with. It's not something that you have to deal with on your own.
Absolutely.
Because it can be incredibly isolating and lonely. And that's, again, your brain playing tricks on you, trying to make you think it's protecting you when it's not sometimes. All right, Darren, Carol, Gurmahigat, thank you very much,
Greg.
Throw in at 8.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Hamilton is coming to the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre in Dublin. All dates are completely sold out, but Highland Radio have limited spaces available for Monday the 21st of October. Your trip includes luxury transfers, overnight stay at the 4-star City North Hotel Dublin, your ticket to the show, and a shopping trip to Dublin City the next day. To book, call us on 07491 25000 or visit the outlet at highlandradio.com.
Exciting news. Pandora's 3 for 2 promotion is on. Buy 2 pieces at full price and get the third one free. Show someone special that you're thinking of them, or treat yourself. But hurry, this offer won't be around for long. Offer ends 29th of September. Available in participating stores and at pandora.net while stocks last. Terms and exclusions apply.
Transform your home with Hegarty's Home Interiors in Buncrana. Discover a wide selection of stylish furniture and decor to create your perfect space. Our expert team offers personalised advice to match your style and budget. Visit us on Main Street, Buncrana. Open Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. Or visit hegartyshomeinteriors.ie. Hegarty's Home Interiors, making homes beautiful since 1946.
Is your business or farm having difficulty getting a loan or restructuring bank debt? The good news is there's something you can do about it. For over 10 years, Credit Review has helped Irish SMEs by appealing unfavourable credit decisions. For more information, visit creditreview.ie. Credit Review is an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
This Wednesday, Highland Radio is hitting the road to celebrate Love Donegal Day. Join the adventure as we explore the heart of Donegal, showcasing some of its stunning locations. Tune in all day for a journey you won't forget and follow us on social media. Love Donegal Day, proudly brought to you by Donegal County Council. Together, we can share what makes Donegal special throughout the world by using hashtag Love Donegal and hashtag Dunanalabu across social media.
Okay, loads of you texting in. Thank you very much for that. I'll be getting to those as we move towards, I was going to say midday. John's with me now. Hi, John. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good, John. Great to chat to you. We were chatting during Community Garda information, I suppose, about some erratic, irresponsible behaviour on our roads, and it was interesting to hear Garda Maguire sort of reference the fact that people are sort of doing it without fear of being caught, yet they are being caught. What have you observed, or what do you want to talk about, John?
Greg, I was coming last night between Rathmullen and a wee village called Kerrykeel there down by Famet.
Mm-hmm.
And between the two, there's a wee chapel called Ochterlin. And this wee chapel's out in the middle of nowhere, and it's a very scenic, beautiful wee spot. And as I was coming in, there was a car, a creamy car, a Lexus, and I mean, it was flat out in front of the door of the chapel doing donuts. And I couldn't believe what I was witnessing, you know. And there was another vehicle, another Jeep parked up, admiring this or watching on, if you like. And the closer I got, they obviously thought I was the guard.
Mm.
And this is where you have an issue. Because now you have a Lexus full of 5 people and another vehicle full of people. And I mean, you'd have seen the way they left that chapel road. The donuts were bad. But if you'd have seen the way they left that road to head on that road last night, thinking obviously I was guards, which I wasn't.
Wow.
And I mean, Greg, they could meet some old creature coming from bingo. Some old creature coming from visiting somebody, some nurse coming home from her work, somebody on a night shift come home, and this is what's going to happen. And the thing is about it, Greg, there's management and there's ways of doing things and policing this. I spoke to the barracks, I reported it, because I think it's something that people, this is where I'm going to try and get to my point. I think as public, we could be doing more. We need to be reporting. If you see it and you have a passenger on board that you can get them to video it and get registrations, report it. If you have a dash cam, report it. And most importantly, if you're a parent, you can report it. If you have a child and you're not comfortable And them, whether they're over 18 or whatever age they are, if they're living under your roof, you can only advise them as a parent. And if you feel that they're going out and going into a car, whether they're a passenger or whatever they are, to do donuts on the road, you can advise them not to. If they'll go against your will and say, no, mommy, I'm going out, I'm over 18, you can't, report it.
Kick them out.
Because at the end of the day, as a parent, I would rather be reporting my son for getting into a vehicle and hanging about with the wrong crowd that's out doing donuts on the road than me getting a knock on the door from 2 guards to say my son's been killed.
Yeah, we don't seem to connect the two, which is a problem until it's too late. And John, that car's going to land home stinking of rubber. You know what I mean? It's going to be obvious what went on.
Listen, Greg, these parents, I'm sorry. If you're buying an Alexa and the car's back wheel drive, you're buying it for one purpose and one purpose only. I'm sorry.
I'm going to disagree with you on that, because I know a few Lexus owners, and the tires are so expensive you wouldn't see them at it, John. And I'm not being argumentative.
I get but I'm talking about the there's a few boys in that can in. They're honest to God, I meet them regularly. They're sound lads. Their wee cars are done up to the health side. These boys are going. They'll sit in a car park. Their cars are spectacular. I mean, they probably cost more than my new car because of the money they've spent. Them boys are not. They're not out doing donuts on the road. They're not out causing any harm, or they're not going to end up trying to get a chase away from thinking they're getting away from guards or killing anybody else. Them boys are only sitting there admiring their cars, and at the end of the day, fair play to them if that's what they're into. But these crowds going around and round and round in a circle in a road,
I know,
and then thinking
not too far. The same happened outside. It's not too far away from where you're talking, really, outside the chapel in Carragard, outside the graveyard as well,
that's
where
what
people's final resting place. The road in an absolute state.
Absolutely. But Greg, even our most beautiful landmarks, like viewpoints, anywhere where there's a beautiful viewpoint where people are pulling with tour buses, all you see is donuts on the road. I don't understand what's happened to the generation that's grown up today. They're clearly not going to church or going to mass or have any beliefs and faith, that they have no respect for a graveyard or a chapel, that they think that this is okay to do outside the door. At the end of the day, I was brought up, Greg, and my God, you pass a chapel, you bless yourself. Do you know what I mean? You pass a graveyard, you bless yourself. You don't lift the handbrake and go round and round a circle. What are we breeding nowadays? What kind of an animal thinks that this is normal?
It's a minority. We're talking about a minority.
I know, yeah, 100%. I'm not for it. 100%.
There's enough of them whereby it is problematic. And in fairness to the guards, they seem to have made progresses in the Milford and Buncrana, was it the other area?
Greg, can I suggested to the guard last night, and yes, there's a lot of tape, and I said to him, I said, listen, I'm telling you, you don't understand how much this would work, as much as it sounds harsh and as much as it sounds terrible. But for the boys in Letterkenny, because they're getting tarnished, the boys that are just sitting where their cars are all done up, they're getting tarnished the same way as me and you're getting tarnished with high insurance, high road tax because of these situations.
Yeah, that's true.
At the end of the day, Greg, if these cars are caught, Greg, I'm sorry, take them and crush them. They have to be, and video it and post it on social media. Crush the cars. These people are, and take the license off them for up to 10 years. By then, hopefully, they've grown up of going round and round in a circle.
See, my concern too is that the cat and mouse element to this, in that it seems part of the crack is, and they thought you were a guard as you approached, John, part of the crack is the chase then as well. Pile them into the car and tear off. And you outlined the dangers of that, obviously.
Oh, Greg, it's so sad, Greg. Listen, I'm saying to parents, this is where my plea is, and this is where I'm on the radio to you. I'm pleading to parents, which would you rather? Would you rather say to your Wayne, and if he's not listening, tell him you're reporting it to the guards, or would you rather get a knock from 2 guards to say, listen, I'm really sorry, but you have to come up and identify your son or your daughter. Listen, you need to stop. You need to help out here as parents and as public. Report, and save the young generation. Let them know how silly it is and how stupid it is, for it's not worth it. You're going to kill some other creature, and you're going to kill maybe 5 other or 4 other passengers sitting on with you that you don't need to. It's silly. There is organised events in Letterkenny. There's organised places that you can go to for these events, and you can do that. And fair play to these people for putting these things on. There is places for doing it, not on their public roads. For when you think you're getting a chase, you're going to kill some innocent creature.
Yeah, I think that has to be a bit of work. I think that's a bit of work within the peer group as well, because I would know. I would know too. People who have just become newly qualified as drivers, or have just got their first car, There's a lot of pressure within their peer group to load the car up and come on, we'll go for a spin and stuff.
Oh,
I've
definitely.
Seen, you know, I mean, obviously there's there's bumps and scratches that happen, and then there's more serious stuff that happens. But we
That's
also
right.
need to put the emphasis on the passengers as well and say, look at, don't.
But if the passengers can take their own, they can take their own thing as well and say, listen, I don't like that. Can you let me out? I don't want to be in this car. This is too dangerous. You can speak up for yourself. Don't think you're being a pussy or sorry if I say it. Don't think you're being weak for asking for that. You're saving your own life, and not only that, you could be saving his life by telling him to stop or tell him to slow down. At the end of the day, which would you rather, as a friend or as a brother, would you rather be killed, or would you rather say, go and slow down because this is ridiculous, you're going too hard?
All right, John. Listen, thanks. I hear the passion in your voice. I know what you're saying, that we need to also be the eyes and ears as well. And it's not about
100%.
reporting people to get them in bother and being a curtain twitcher or a grass
You're
or a
saving
snitch.
their lives.
It's literally
You're saving their
trying
lives.
to save lives here. Yeah, I get you.
You're saving lives, and more importantly, you're saving that horrible knock that too many people in our county and our countries are getting every day.
Okay.
You're saving that knock to the door. Thanks very much.
John, take care of yourself. A caller says, I totally agree with John. The Churchill area is the same. The roads are covered in tyre marks. At the moment, I want to be home by 7 or 8 o'clock so I don't run into any of them. Okay. Some comments on some other issues too ahead of the 1:45 break. Very often when young people are constantly being overlooked and not picked for a place on a team, and often younger age groups getting preference, can often be detrimental to one's mental health and self-worth. If this is to be addressed, and also foul language when someone makes a mistake on the pitch. Yeah, that's part of it. Some of it's the rough and tumble of sport, and others it's different. But I do understand, and we're not in any way contradicting you. And most clubs now have a well-being officer. Maybe it's no harm raising it with them too. Taoiseach Simon Harris signed off on the National Children's Hospital main phase. We see what a financial disaster alone it's becoming, yet we see opinion polls giving him a very high rating. Are they polled asleep? Thankfully, it's just opinion polls and not the real polls. I think the real polls will reflect what's in these opinion polls, by the way. But that hospital is 1.6 billion over budget. 1.6 billion. So $1 million. So just to remind ourselves what 1.6 billion is. So a billion is a million. So €1 million wasted and overspent 1 million times, plus 600,000 times as well. So that's how much 1.6 billion is. Can you imagine the work that would do? 1 million, and then another 600,000 million. That's what the overrun is at the moment, and it's still not open. And they actually have concerns. A PwC report, they have actually concerns as to whether or not management will be able to run the hospital efficiently. Can you please ask what is the regulations on horse poo? An equestrian school using a public road and leaving a terrible mess behind and never cleaning it up. Interesting question. Let's look into that. A caller says, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's the people who should be licensed, not the dogs. Some people don't know the first thing about dogs or how to train them, but they still have the dogs. On road safety, we need the Garda, Motor Club and RSA all together sorting a site location and giving them the skills to get it out of the system. We've all been there, young, testosterone fueled and nowhere to show off. So that would be like an official diffing point or something along those lines. I read that one out already. Very well done to all involved in the Highland Radio Hoolie. Very well organised. Couldn't have asked for better. The staff and all organisers were great. The biggest shout out goes to the Donegal people who were on the trip. Such a nice, friendly bunch. We hope to go again next year. That's from Patsy Lee in Athboy, County Meath. Good to have you on board from County Meath. Yeah, lots of people who were on that said it was a huge success, and it's going again next year. Greg, it is the responsibility of the NCT Centre to provide a service. They need to hire more manpower. The current waiting list is 8 weeks, regardless if your car is due or not. That's not the individual driver's problem, it's their problem. But I suppose it's booking your NCT maybe 8 weeks in advance before it runs out. But I get where you're coming from. Just wait till after 12 and call the hotline too. You can often get an appointment quicker. Hi Greg, I was in Killylaston petrol station where young teenagers threw fireworks at the car last week. I contacted the Gardaí. They failed to come up when I called them. A waste of time calling them. Wow, can you imagine? Fireworks, car, petrol station. That could have been an absolute disaster. What was going through those young people's minds there? Right, I'm going to take a very short break. Stay with us. We'll be back with more We're going to be talking actually about dental services in the Fulcara area after this.
Highland Radio are planning a musical event just for you. Join us as we spend 3 nights in the luxurious Sleeve Russell Hotel Cavan from Monday the 3rd to Thursday the 6th of February 2025. You will enjoy luxury transfers, dinner, bed and breakfast and nightly entertainment with some of the very best names in country music, including Michael English, Robert Mazzell, David James, Olivia Douglas, myself Sinead Black and many more. Join us on Highland Radio's Cavan Country Getaway for just $4.89 per person sharing. Single supplement applies. Early booking advised by visiting the outlet on highlandradio.com or call us at 074 91 25,000 today.
For day-to-day healthcare needs, generations have trusted the experienced staff at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From coughs and colds to aches and pains, from vitamin supplements to first aid essentials. McGee's have what you need when you need it, with a full prescription service available daily. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For healthcare help and advice you can always trust.
You're listening to Highland Radio, broadcasting to some of the 1,000 millionaires made by the National Lottery so far. Next time you play a National Lottery game, it really could be you. Play responsibly, play for fun. See lottery.ie for more details.
Go full family dinners on Lidl Plus. Mix and match any 3 fresh meats for €9. Monday's perfect for some fresh Irish chicken. There's Irish pork and beef to get everyone excited for midweek meals. Then serve up turkey and fish for the tastiest of weekends. That's the week's meal sorted. Scan the Lidl Plus app and go full Lidl today.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenney's. Support a local Donegal business with McElhenney's. From fashion to home essentials, find everything you need for any occasion. Shop McElhenney's Ballybuffet for quality you can trust.
So a mix of cloud and sunny spells today with just a few well-scattered showers. Temperatures around about 12 or 13 degrees and light to moderate west to northwest wind. Grania is with me now. Hi, Grania.
Good morning, Greg.
Now, you're going to help me highlight the issue of access to a school dentist, this particularly in the Fulcara area?
Yeah, Greg. So I'll kind of start back at the beginning. Back in August, it was through word of mouth, really, that I heard the school dentist over here had left. So my own child kind of was waiting on an appointment for a filling. Queried it, rang around to see what was going on, and the reply that I got was that yes, indeed, the dentist had left. There was no replacement dentist, but I should really hold off a week or two. They said they may cover emergency appointments. So that was grand. While waiting for the week or two, she developed severe toothache. Didn't know where to go with her, rang around again and was advised to ring the school dentist in Dunlow, which I did do, and in fairness to them, now they saw her. She needed an antibiotic for an infection. Cut a long story short, that part was sorted for her, but she still required this filling. Now, the dentist in Dunlow that day did tell us that she could be waiting up to 2 years to get that appointment for her filling. So, you know yourself, 2 years and a tooth that needs filling. Yes.
It's not going to wait that long. I mean, that's an extraction if she doesn't get it filled.
Exactly, and it's going to be that rotten in 2 years' time that it wouldn't be worth filling. But anyway, Greg, they did say I could take this private to a different dentist if I wanted to pay for it off my own bat, which I would probably have to do. But the issue then is that dentists aren't taking on any new clients. Their books are all full. So my point really here, Greg, is that, like, at the end of the day, I'm only one parent with one child needing one filling, right? But the dentists in the Fulcara area covered a huge catchment area. They were from Fulcara to Dunlow. So you have an awful lot of primary schools, a larger number of children, and you can imagine the amount of teeth that aren't getting seen to. So
what about
I'm no further forward.
What about checkups, Grania? Because obviously, regular checkups would be important too, to hopefully, see anything advanced. Does she have access to checkups?
Generally, with the school dental scheme, they should have a checkup in their junior, say, first class to third class, and then there is supposed to be another checkup before they leave in sixth class. Now, the problem, I suppose, going forward, and if it is put to the HSE, their reply will probably be one of their famous generic replies that recruitment process is in place or it's finalised. Even, Greg, when that is to happen and there is a dentist got, whenever that will be, The issue then with the backlog of children, that dentist is going to have to concentrate on 5th, 6th class children before they leave the primary school level, because that scheme stops once they're in secondary school, which leaves the younger children not getting seen.
Well, the easiest way, when we're making our inquiries then, we'll find out what the future plan is, but also how waiting lists will be dealt with. Because, you know, if a school dentist is appointed, what does that mean for your 9-year-old? And as you say, firstly, not everyone can go private, but secondly, it's very hard to get into a private dentist, because, as you quite rightly pointed out, they're overstretched and not too keen on certain types of work either. You know, they want the public stuff that helps keep the roof over their head.
Yeah.
How long then, has the dentist servicing the emergency service you say is there, you've availed of that, but how long has the school dentist been absent? You mentioned last August, did you?
I was made aware of it in August, Greg, but I'm not 100% sure of when she actually left, which is fine, up to her, good luck to her. She's entitled to that, but we're left with no school dentist.
What we're supposed to do is someone gives notice of their departure, which is normal in the public service, and then they say, right, okay, so you've got a month's notice, and we're going to have a replacement in a month. But it doesn't seem to be like that. We seem to wait till they've gone.
It never is, no.
And then leave this gap, and therefore a gap builds up. All right, Grania, listen, I've enough to work on there. We'll make our inquiries to the HSE. I'm getting a little bit clever now, because we go back after the generic one with further questions, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to try that, Grania, and we'll see what we can come up with. All right?
Fantastic. Thanks,
Take care
Greg.
of yourself. Bye-bye. See you, Grania. Right, we'll finish up with some of your comments, I think. If the guards don't stop small things, they evolve into bigger things, believe this listener. I passed cars 242 reg, men in their 50s driving with the wrong number plates. As far as I'm aware, number plates front and back must be white and have the European flag. We must clamp down on these things too. I know what you're saying, but that's not life and death. I get you, though. You're probably right. Redcastle Parish Church graveyard car park is continuously used for doing donuts. It's a disgrace. So we've got donuts happening outside the church in Carragart. Was it Ochterlin? Where the Ochterlin it was, where the donuts happen outside that church. And now we've got Redcastle Parish Church. So there must be more out there. That's 3 parish church graveyards and churches where people are donutting outside of. What's going on? Why? That seems a bit crazy. Greg, that noise every night with those rascals. I blame their parents for giving them money for gas or petrol. Are they scared of them? Garda, stop them, please. Why should young teenagers get away with it? And why should a group of young teenagers potentially tarnish the reputation of all the other teenagers as well? Hi Greg, why does Letterkenny Garda Station have to get permission from Galway Garda Station to release a Garda car after reporting reckless driving? I reported a reckless driver drifting around the Kiltoy roundabout, but 10 minutes later had to take a call from Galway. By then the car would have been miles away. Well, ideally you ring Galway directly, you see. That's just the way it is now. It's a centralised call centre, and you ring Galway and they determine then if it's an actionable call, and they actually dispatch the Gardaí to that area. Presumably you got through to someone on a desk in Letterkenny and they effectively had to make your call to Galway. A caller says, is that really correct about the NCT? It's near impossible to get an NCT test in time, often a couple of months delay. Are they saying cars not insured if the NCT is out of date, even if I have an appointment? I'll tell you, we've a lot on this. Let me double check that, because obviously it's about interpretation as well, and information that had been put out in the past, and then the rules of the road, the rules of law. So listen, there's one thing whether you can get away with it. It's another thing what is the situation if, God forbid, you have a crash. But listen, we'll talk about that. We'll get some more information on that. Are you allowed to tow? Don't think so. How would you be insured to tow an uninsured car? Well, the insurance on the car that's towing, presuming the license was suitable, I can't see how that would be illegal. A caller says, I sent an email to Insurance Ireland as my son's car insurance was high. The insurance is now 640. He was quoted 987 in the beginning. It shows you should shop around. Big saving there. Please shop around. I couldn't promote that enough. Hiya, Greg. I'm in urgent need to see a neurologist, but told there's a 3 to 5 year waiting list. Can anyone help me, please? My local GP has tried and tried, but unfortunately I'm on a long waiting list. I took ill at Christmas. I was allergic to steroids. If anyone has any advice there. I have a concern about, this is separate to that text, about a lot of consultants leaving the public system and going private. I think we're going to see much more of that in the coming years, and it's going to cause issues if it's not causing issues already. There's a reason staff are going abroad, private and agency. Hi, Greg. A sign in the town park in Letterkenny. Service dogs only. Been there a few times the past month. Lots of dogs. They don't look like service dogs. I haven't seen that sign, but you know. I'm a walker in Drumbo Woods. Every morning I meet a man. Every day his dog barking and growling when it meets you. No lead. He says the dog won't bite you. That's all right if you're not afraid of dogs. The dog should be on a lead at all times, no matter what. Yeah, indeed. This person also goes down to identify the man, which we can't obviously reveal. But listen, if the man is listening, I know you love your dog. I know you think he's playful and he's having a little growl and a little bark because he's fun. But if you're on the receiving end of that, potentially it's not fun, and maybe you should stick him on a lead. The man is 100% right. The roads at the weekend, this is John. The man is 100% right. The roads at the weekend around Carrigans and St. Johnstone are not safe to drive on late at night because the road is taken over by these crazy drivers and not a guard in sight. This is something really, I think what's happened here is that lots of people in different areas have their concerns about this type of driving on our roads. And this conversation has sparked almost like a map of careless driving and donut driving and what have you. So it might be something that we return to. If it's something you want to have a say on, WhatsApp and text 086 60 25.